It is Thursday, the 3rd of May, 2018, and you're listening to Skeptics with a K, the podcast for science, reason, and critical thinking. Skeptics with a K is a production of the Merseyside Skeptics Society, a non-profit organisation for the promotion of scientific skepticism on Merseyside around the UK and internationally. I am your host, Mike Hall. With me today is Marsh.
Hello.
And Alice.
Hello.
I went to see Infinity War.
Exciting.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Tell nobody else anything about
Literally
it.
not going to say a word about it other than that. It was fucking brilliant.
I would have gone to have
see
seen it, but been busy the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Been pretty busy.
Crazy busy times.
Crazy, and also busy times. Yeah. Been an odd weekend.
Has it?
It has.
Well, Alice, it was your birthday.
It was.
And we went to see a concert in a Nordic church.
We did go and see a concert in a Nordic church.
We did, with a string quartet.
A very animated string quartet. Because I was sitting like right on the front row. I could read the sheet music. So I'm trying to follow along.
Can you read sheet music?
I can't really read sheet. I did like the recorder when I was 8.
Okay.
You know, so I roughly go, that's a quaver and that's a
minim.
All that sort of nonsense. And so I can roughly kind of follow it. And just like, when she's playing the violin really quick, that'll be where they're really close together and all joined up with sticks. So I was kind of roughly following along, reading her sheet music, because I kind of didn't know where to look in a string quartet. What do? Do you close your eyes like a pretentious fucker and just, absorb the...
I was very interested to watch them watching each other. I quite liked seeing the bits where it's really important that they all start at the same time and they're all like looking at each other to make sure that they're doing it at exactly the same time.
They were cued by the violinist going...
Yeah.
Every time.
She was the lead violinist. But
lead violin would sniff.
Yeah.
Just into... It would be like... and away.
Like the equivalent of drummers 1, 2, 3, like, click, click, click.
But I enjoyed it. It was very animated.
It was.
I didn't.
Well, most of them were. One guy, the viola player, I think it was, was not at all animated. He didn't move.
I couldn't see him. There's a microphone in between me and him, so I couldn't see him at all.
Well, one of the reasons that there was a microphone in between you and him is because he wasn't moving, so he wasn't going either side of the microphone.
That's true. Yeah. But I did enjoy the how animated they were when they would lean over and lean back, and I was kind of thinking, does that change? Does it change the sound? Are they using that to like make the bow movements?
I know nothing about string instruments.
No, I know very well. I played the violin for a while, but I still know nothing about it.
I played the violin for a while.
Did you?
Yeah.
I played the flute for a while.
When I was about 6.
I understand woodwind. I don't understand string instruments at all. Do you have to warm up string instruments before you play them? Because you have to warm up woodwind instruments.
Yeah. They always do a little tuning up of like...
Well, that's what it sounded like. They were in the back, like, kind of fiddling around with them.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I imagine that the musicians are going to write in and go, no, you dickheads, what are you doing?
Myrmekides himself will be like, why are you talking about this? Have you not got anything more important and or weird to talk about? Yes, we have. Stick with us.
But I imagine if you're really going at it with a string instrument... The strings are going to warm up, and that's going to change the metal's going to stretch and expand, and that's going to change the tuning instrument. So maybe that's why they're always out the back going before you start.
You have to warm up wind instruments, so I would imagine you have to warm up string. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the temperature change is also the reason why they go out of tune in the first place. So some of that is them making sure they're in tune.
Yeah.
You get them back in tune by getting them as hot as they were last time they tuned it.
I think it's more that they play them and think, right, does that sound about right, or should I tune them at the same time?
Yeah. But it was good.
Really good.
I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? It was your birthday.
It was. I enjoyed it. It was good.
And there was cake. Although...
I had a mouthful of cake and then left it. I didn't like it.
Did you not like the cake?
What? I had a nice bit of cake.
I had a piece of... I'm very fussy about cake. I'm not really a big cake eater.
I'm not a big
I don't really
cake
eat
person.
much sweet stuff at all. But I'm fussy about which kinds of cake I have. And the only cake they had available that I would have eaten really was the brownie, and the brownie was very dry and didn't have a lot of flavour, and wasn't very impressed with it.
If you're going to do a dry brownie, you need to have a bit of cream or something with it to
they were offering cream
to set it off.
Cream was there as the option.
They did actually. That's true. They did have a thing.
I'd already been drinking. I didn't really want cake.
Neither did I. But then I got down and I saw the cheesecake. And I thought, I'll have a bit of cheesecake. It was good. It was all right.
Well, I was like standing in line for cake. Me and Katie and Lana were standing in line for cake trying to get some cake, which is good. And then this bloke came and cut in line in front of us, which was really annoying, especially because he got the last bit of cake.
He did get the last bit of cake.
He got the last bit of cake, didn't you, Marsh?
I did.
Didn't you cut in line in front of me and then get the last bit of cake?
I did join my wife in the queue and take the cake that she was buying off her so she didn't have to carry 2 pieces.
I don't think that's how queuing works. You're British, man. You know this.
She was already queuing and was already getting me that slice of cake. But rather than her have to carry 2 slices of cake and a cup of tea, which she couldn't have done, I carried my cake.
Cut in line and took the last bit of cake?
I stood with her in the queue. It's not like we were queuing to get into a place. And she's like, oh, I'm here, but like my 9 friends are joining me. It was like she was buying a thing that she was buying anyway. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely fine. Just because you get some sort of weird moral, into some weird moralism when you, in any sort of retail or transactional situation. Oh, if somebody gives you a refund you don't feel you deserve, you should tell them all about that refund, otherwise that's theft.
Of course you should.
Oh, you're buying food that comes with a free salad and they're taking hours to come to you to make your order, but you're going to have a free salad anyway. It's not your salad until you placed your order.
It's not. It's $3.99 until you placed your order. It says on the menu.
I just think if they'd have said pay $3.99 and we'll give you the money back once you place your order, I'd have been fine to do that.
Yeah, but you didn't know, did you? You just stole the salad.
There was not an option there.
Stealing salad and shoes and cake. It's a fucking disgrace.
Stole no one's cake. So this is going to be the second in what is likely to be a trilogy of extended So What Have You Been Up To Lately, guys? Episodes. Because obviously last week we had our David Icke special, where the thing we had been up to that week, guys, was seeing David Icke in Southport. And if people listen to that episode, you'll see that the whole episode was just us saying how weird that 4-hour event was. So the only
we didn't apply much skepticism to it. We just kind of talked about what had happened.
Well, no, I think we applied skepticism. He'd make a claim and we'd say why that claim made no sense or why that claim was internally inconsistent.
Did we definitely do that?
Yeah, we did quite a lot of it. There were times that then we point out the logic behind one bit of claim directly contradicted a piece of logic behind a different claim he'd previously done.
I don't remember now.
I think we can stand by a lot of the stuff we said in the Icke one in terms of us appraising what he was saying.
I remember mostly just feeling aghast because I wasn't at David Icke.
You weren't at David Icke.
This was just me listening to what you guys had experienced at David Icke and going, what?
Yeah. So maybe what this trilogy is, and this is kind of part one of the second half of that trilogy, as it were. This trilogy is stuff Mike didn't see.
Yes.
Telling you what it was.
Yes.
And seeing how you react to it.
Okay.
Because David Icke, we thought that was a 4-hour talk.
It was kind of like a little training session for what we had planned.
Well, that's it, because we thought, 4 hours of David Icke, that's terrible, that's unbelievable. How do you manage to sit through 4 hours of David Icke? Well, we went to the Flat Earth Convention last weekend. We got back yesterday, me and Alice, spent the entire weekend, starting at 9 o'clock Saturday morning.
We got there at 9 o'clock Saturday morning-ish.
Driving down to Birmingham, to Jury's Inn in Birmingham, from Liverpool. So we left Liverpool at like 7:30 in the morning, got to Birmingham for 9, thinking, right, we've got a packed day.
We left your house at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we've got like a packed day of QED, of the anti-QED, being the Flat Earth Convention in Birmingham. And so I think there were about 160 people there. I think from looking around and also from talking to the organiser.
I think there's slightly more than that.
No, there was 160 on the Saturday, 200 potentially over the course of the whole weekend.
Oh, okay.
But there was about 160 people there in this room in Jury's Inn. So
that's quite a good chunk of people, though, as well.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was maybe about...
And from a range of different places as well. There was a guy from Norway there. There was a guy who'd come over from Poland there. There was a guy who'd come from Canada.
Yeah, there were some people from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
There was someone from New Zealand, but they'd come up from London. There was someone from Argentina, but he'd come up from London.
What about the other there was another Argentinian guy who'd come from Argentina.
But he was one of the speakers. They'd flown him in. We'll get to him in
as the crow flies, presumably they'd flown him in.
We'll get to that also as we carry on. Well, we'll get to kind of all of this. But we got there on the Saturday morning. We didn't see all of it because they did some stuff on Friday night.
They did.
We weren't that sure. I'm not sure. I knew there was some stuff going on, but it wasn't really clear what was going to be on the Friday.
Right. Mixer events. How was the bar?
They had
the big queues.
They had a open mic thing.
Yeah, their Friday night was open mic.
Okay.
So that would have been fun to hear. And they also had a bit that was just labelled as experiments. And we're like, I said to Alice, oh, God, can we go down? We were trying to figure out, can we go down for the Friday? Because I want to see them do experiments.
Right.
It turns out we couldn't, because we didn't have a ticket for it. But also, it turns out they were talking about experiments that had already been done.
Not doing experiments.
No, which I think, retrospectively, would have been boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Because we heard a bit of that over the weekend as well, of their experiments. So all that aside, we had 106 people. On the way in, as we go into the room, and we get our little wristbands, a red one and a blue one.
Wristbands, not like nice lanyards.
No.
Name of the conference printed on it.
Yeah, no.
Well,
You didn't.
we were given a red one and a blue one. She said, you need to wear this one for the Saturday, and I'll give you this one for the Sunday. Gave us the wrong one.
Gave us the wrong way around.
So we had to wear both wristbands
Wear
for
it to the whole time. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get in, you can see there's a merch tent at the back, a merch table rather at the back, and a merch table right at the front. And
it was a massive. It was like 4 conference rooms with the walls pulled down to open it up.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was maybe 4 times the size of the office that we are currently recording this show in terms of length. So just 4 lengths of that with 160 people in. And I would say the single worst tech team of any event I have ever seen. And this is, I'm not here to attack the conference. The idea is not the organisation, but it's got to be said the tech team was unbelievably bad. Every microphone.
Well, it was due to start at like 9:45.
Yeah,
it probably didn't start until 10:30. A good chunk of that was because they were faffing around with tech, and then when they did get the tech working, the microphones were intermittent at best. They kept coming on and off, at least for the first session.
Yeah.
And the projector system just decided to die halfway through one of the speakers' talks and just went blank. The tech team started trying to fix it, and then because he was vamping and continuing to talk, they just kind of went, he seems to be fine. Yeah. We'll just leave it. and left it until he asked again if he could get his slides back.
And then you saw them go, oh, I'll go and do that then. So that was a bit surprised.
Were the tech team, were they flat earthers? Or were
they they were just a high tech team. And to be fair to the tech team, and we don't know who the tech team are, so it's not like we're slandering the company or anything. But to be fair to them, they'd said they'd had to find them with very short notice because they'd had problems with who they'd originally booked.
Yeah.
But
who'd gone, you believe what?
But it was astonishingly bad.
Well, the conference was sponsored by FE Core, a company called FE Core, or did they pronounce it FECOR?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
that iron core? Is that what that FE is in iron?
No.
No. Well, what does FE stand for?
I mean, they are...
What does FE stand for?
I haven't... Flat Earth.
Field engineers.
But they are part of this community, was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
They're flat Earth believers.
But they're field engineers, and I'll come back to that later. But it was sponsored by FECOR, which is...
Is this like architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth? Is that kind of... Okay.
We'll come back to that in about an hour's time, or in the conference time in about 17 hours' time, because the day was long. So... First, it's worth sort of pointing out, we, as it was before the first talk, we heard people sort of chatting. And one of the things I did hear was them saying, last night, the Christians outnumbered the non-Christians there.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to me.
At the Flat Earth Convention?
At the Flat Earth Convention. Which you think, why are the Christians at the Flat Earth Convention? We're going to come to that at some length.
And the other thing that we noticed as we walked in was that they were giving out free samples of things on the way in, free samples of toothpaste.
Okay.
So this,
I got a box with activated charcoal in it.
Okay. And that's Allodent, which I see
this is aloe vera plus
toothpaste.
Silica for natural protection. But there was some charcoal ones that Alice got as well.
Okay.
So everyone got their own free toothpaste, sponsored by Iron Realm Media, who were there filming the event.
Okay.
And the opening address by Gary, the organiser, one of the things in his opening address that was quite, I'd say a little bit unusual, was he highlighted the journalists who were in the room.
He did.
And then continually went back to them a lot of the time. It's like, and we've got John there from the Telegraph. And John, you're right, John. Yeah, we were talking to John a little bit. Are you understanding all this, John? And you're like, this is a bit weird. So there was chap from the Telegraph, Lad Bible, were there filming everything the entire time.
We later discovered he didn't introduce people from the Observer and the Times, but we later discovered that they had people there too.
Yeah, well, apparently there's someone from the Observer there, but the Observer's a Sunday Guardian, and nothing came out in the Guardian yesterday as of recording. So unless they're working a week out of hand, there'll be. I don't imagine that they would work a week out of hand unless they had a serious thing there. So I don't know what happened with the Observer coverage, but there were some journalists there.
On top of all the mainstream media there were also Iron Realm Media were there filming, who are part of the Flat Earth community. There was somebody recording a documentary and somebody recording a biography.
Yeah, and there's someone doing a piece of filming just for their degree or something like that, a degree project. But anyway,
I wonder if Iron Realm Media is, because the iron is FE and Flat Earth. I wonder if that's where they've derived their name from.
Not sure.
Maybe.
So anyway, first thing the organizer said was, I'm going to change the order of things. I know in your program, it's going to be this order. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the first talk, so I'm going to hand over to myself, which he then did.
Yeah.
You know when that happens at QED and we go, we need to change the order of things, we all stand around agonising about it for hours about whether it's the right thing to do.
Well, so this is the organizer, Gary, from FECOR, from FECOR. First thing he said was, so I've been into the Flat Earth. I'm the organizer of this conference. I've been into the Flat Earth. I first got into the idea 2.5 years ago. What? 2.5 years ago you got into this?
Okay.
And this was
it seems there are a lot of people who are relatively new to the idea within this, who are fully into the community, but are relatively new to the community.
But most of them, the speakers were for context. I mean, I first interviewed Michael Wilmore of the Flat Earth Society.
Yes,
we'll come to the Flat Earth Society later. But I first interviewed him, I think, in 2012, 2013 for Be Reasonable.
Yes.
I've been in terms of duration looking at the Flat Earth longer than the organisers and most of the speakers at this conference, which I thought was really interesting. He did say, I can't tell you what the world is, I can only tell you what it isn't, and it definitely isn't a globe.
Yeah.
He said,
he's 100% certain it isn't a globe.
Okay.
He said, I don't know if I believe in space. That one's just kind of out there. Don't know about that. He said, he mentioned how he's a 9/11 truther. He thinks that Wi-Fi is evil. That 5G is incredibly dangerous. And also 2020, the year 2020 will be significant.
He very interestingly, so he asked a few questions. He was trying to make it really interactive. He asked how many people in the room had ever met a Flat Earth person before the event.
Oh, yes, he did ask that, yeah.
About a quarter of the people in the room had never met anybody else in the Flat Earth community until they'd come to this convention.
Yeah, in person,
That's quite interesting, because one of the things that we found setting up Merseyside Skeptics was, especially early on, people turning up was like, I thought I was the only person who thought like this. I didn't realise
they definitely expressed that idea as well throughout the convention. But then he also asked, he was trying to highlight a lack of trust in the government, and he asked, does anyone in the room think 9/11 was terrorists?
Okay. That's true.
How many people do you think put the hand up in a room of 160 people?
Oh, don't say none.
There was more than none.
More than none, okay.
Bear in mind, we were in the room.
Oh, did you actually put your hands up?
I'm just saying we were in the... I was going to say, we were just saying we were in the room. How many people do you think put their hands up?
I don't know, I'm going to guess there's a bigger... Because conspiracism breeds conspiracism. If you're into one conspiracy, you tend to be into a lot of them. So I'm going to guess there's a big overlap, and it's going to be no more than a couple of dozen people.
2.
Good Lord.
Who were they?
They were the journalist from the Telegraph and the journalist, the guy sat next to him, who we later discovered was the journalist from the Times.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Every other person in the room distrusted. A couple of people, I heard somebody muttering behind me, asking the same question that somebody across the room then shouted, clarify what you mean by terrorists, because the government are terrorists.
Okay.
But universal agreement that 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah. So when did you two become 9/11 truthers?
You actually were out of the room when they asked that question, so you've got...
On a lot of this stuff, I was intentionally keeping a low profile.
Wouldn't it be brilliant if all 160 people in the room were just all skeptics there keeping a low profile?
Well, I can tell you that is not the case. I can promise you that is not the case for the rest of the weekend.
There were a lot of media in the room. There were a lot of non-believers in the room as well,
sure.
Which is quite interesting.
There were, but by a lot, I don't think it was more than a dozen.
No.
Yeah, so by a lot, it was at least 90% of them were almost 100%. Well, we're down the line on something, if not everything. One of the things he said was he started carrying out a survey asking people.
No, activism. He did activism.
Oh, activism. Sorry, yes, he did activism, which was a survey that he asked people if they'd heard of the Flat Earth.
Yes.
And if so, what they believed in about the Flat Earth. And when he was doing this activism, he said his activism, 3 in 100 people he was encountering thought the Earth was flat. But he said, I had to kind of abandon that activism because this conference took up too much time. But that's kind of the direction it was going in. Which I said to Alice, can you imagine being at any other conference where they talk about research they started but abandoned as part of their official talk in there? I didn't get much else of what he was talking about in there. Really.
He talked about Orion's belt. So he looked into the distance between the 3 stars in Orion's belt and pointed out that there was a discrepancy according to NASA. And later on in the event, he mentioned that when he compared Google, Wikipedia and NASA figures, they were all varied between each other. So there wasn't a distinct difference, but there wasn't a distinct number of the distances between the 3 stars in Orion's belt. So he said, are they bad at what they're doing or are they lying to us?
Well, it's like, come on, Gary. It's neither. First of all, it's neither of those things. Second of all, fair enough, Wikipedia, fair enough, NASA. You can't compare Google's figures because Google is a search engine which will give you NASA's figures, Wikipedia's figures, or someone else's figures, including yours. Yeah. So it doesn't work that way. And if the stars in Orion's belt are moving, then the distances between them, if you measure, the more accurate you're trying to measure, the less consistent those measurements will be.
There's going to be error bars on them as well. But also, when someone quotes something like the distance between the stars and Orion's belt, they're not going to do it to the fucking meter.
No.
There's going to be like the very first, and this is not necessarily an analogous situation, but the first Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio series talks about how the Earth orbits the sun at a distance of 90 million miles.
Yes.
And it's not. It's about 92, 93 million miles. The second version that he did for the TV series, he says 92 million miles. For the movie, they said nearly 93 million miles because actually, turns out all those figures are more or less right.
They're about right. Exactly, yeah.
But also, it is hard to measure the distances between stars, particularly in our own galaxy, because there's all sorts of things that play into measuring those distances, and it's okay that there's slight discrepancy between numbers. And we know why there's slight discrepancy between numbers. We understand that as a scientific concept.
Presumably they're moving relative to each other, we're moving relative to them, etc., etc., etc.
Although things moving relative to other things is not a concept that is universally accepted across the course of the weekend, nor universally understood across the course of the weekend, which again we'll come to.
So Gary kind of closed by talking about the significance of 2020, the year 2020. Didn't say what.
No.
Just it's significant.
It's a significant year. Something's going to happen. People came back to it throughout the weekend that 2020 was a significant year.
Including someone that we won't talk about this episode. We may talk about in a future episode because there was literally way too much stuff over the course of the weekend. So we're going to park some stuff in this. So this is not going to be the comprehensive rundown. This is why I think this is part one of two.
We're not doing a big 2-hour show like last time. We're just going to...
I mean, it still might end up being...
I'm not promising you that.
I can't promise that.
Okay.
But that was Gary. He'd organised the entire event, having been involved in Flat Earth.
I love that his name is Gary as well. It's the most everyman name that you could possibly think of.
He goes by Gary John.
Yeah.
Gary John.
But speaking of everyman names,
yes.
Next up was Darren. This is Darren Nesbitt.
He exists online as Daz Nez.
Daz Nez.
That's not a bad nickname.
He's a musician. He's from Manchester. He's got a YouTube account with over 3,000 followers.
Yeah, so he said in 2013 he was really into 9/11, the Illuminati, the Boston Marathon bombing, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. He was awakened. Awakened in 2013 was the phrasing he used.
Then in 2014 he found the Flat Earth. He came across that
under his feet, presumably. Right under his
feet. Came across Flat Earth stuff. In January 2015 he came out as a flat earther. He's
left Facebook since then because he thinks it's a tool of the CIA.
Yes, so are all computers and phones, but
even mobile phone is a personal spy device.
A personal spy device, yeah, absolutely. So where did he start? Well, he said, first of all, I know that the Earth isn't a globe. We didn't go to the moon, and there is no vast universe out there. That's kind of where he starts.
What seems to be my impression from the weekend. What seems to be a universal belief in flat Earth conspiracy is that the moon landing didn't happen.
Sure. Yeah,
a lot of people get into it through that, but universally they don't believe in the moon landing. Even the ones that believe the moon exists,
which is not all. It's not all of them.
Not all of them.
Yes, it's far from all
that
of them.
Believe the moon is solid and something that you plausibly could land on.
Right.
They universally seem to not believe that we have ever landed on the moon.
The data on conspiracy theorists, though, again, I'd suggest conspiracy begat conspiracy. If you believe one, you're much more likely to believe others as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that will become a theme of the entire weekend.
Which is interesting. But, so, the moon, maybe not, we didn't go to the moon, but they also deny the existence of the universe.
Some, not all.
Some of them have very specific ideas about the shape of the universe that we aren't going to talk about today.
Okay.
But we will talk about in the future, and it's brilliant.
I think we will touch on some elements of the shape of the universe and the shape of the solar system and how the different elements. Some don't believe in the solar system, but those that do have very specific ideas of how it works.
How can you not believe in the solar system?
We're going to come to it.
We're in the solar system.
No, we're not, Mike. That's just you being... I mean, this is postage stamp stuff again, basically. So first thing he did is he asked the room of 160-ish people when they came to the flat Earth. The overwhelming majority of people in the room believed in the flat Earth for 1 to 2 years. No more than 1 to 2 years.
Now, that's fascinating, because anecdotally, we've noticed that the flat Earth thing has kind of gone from naught to huge. Like, literally 5 years ago, we'd be talking about the flat Earth as an intellectual exercise that people who do it, who are just contrarians, just doing it to see if they how far they can carry the logic.
When you say literally 5 years ago, we would be talking like that. Literally 5 years ago, I spoke to the Flat Earth Society, and it was that. And when I talk to people about, I interviewed from the Flat Earth Society, people would say, what, is that a thing? Is that really a thing? Is that do people still think that way, and aren't they just fucking around? So the vast majority of people, I would say, more than 50% anyway, of the room believed in it for 1 to 2 years. Lots more said 3 to 5 years. There were a couple of people, I think, who were more than 5 years, but it really wasn't
Certainly
many.
there were a couple of speakers who were more than 5 years.
It is ironic that the flat earthers are having a renaissance.
Yes. I think, I had in my notes that only 2 people said they didn't believe in the flat Earth, and they were journalists from the Times and the Telegraph. I think those 2 people also put their hands up for that.
Yeah. He asked a separate there were multiple questions. They were trying to make things as interactive as possible. He actively said that.
Yeah, he said he was trying to do that.
He did also talk about the public perception of a flat Earth. He had 3 statements on his slide about the public perception of the flat Earth or believing in the flat Earth. I couldn't...
It was...
one thing that happened quite a lot was that they had really terrible slide colouring. So they had like yellow on top of blue, or like fonts that were really hard to read on top of each other. So that he had 3 statements on his public perception of people who believe in the flat Earth. One of them I couldn't read. The top and bottom one were, you're an idiot.
You're a liar.
Was it you're a liar?
Yeah.
And you're retarded.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So that was a nice, lovely thing to see. He said, obviously, NASA, they're liars. Elon Musk is a liar. Don't trust anyone. Don't believe anyone. Be your own authority, is what he was saying. Be your own authority. That's the absolute key to all of this. He'd repeat that refrain quite often. Then he started asking questions about obsession. And Alice, do you have some of those questions? Let's skim through some of them.
So he called it the Flat Earth Addiction Test. Do you believe that globe earthers are not on the same level as us? Audience all nodding, lots of agreement, kind of yes. Do you find it boring or awkward to spending time with globe earthers because they seem boring or they don't understand the flat Earth? Lots of agreement from the audience again. Have people said that you're pushy or obsessive about the flat Earth? Do you consider that flat Earth is the way forward in sorting out the problems of the world? Have you thought that if only everyone knew about the flat Earth, the world would be a different place? If someone criticises the flat Earth leaders or flat Earth, do you get quite emotional and have to explain why they're wrong? Have you noticed that you spend less and less time with your family and friends and more time with flat earthers?
Now, Mike,
the whole way through, lots of agreement from the audience.
Yeah. Now, Mike, what do you think those questions are?
He called it the Flat Earth Addiction Test.
I mean, it sounds, especially towards the end there, where you're spending less time with your friends, it's getting a bit culty at that point.
Funny you should say that.
He revealed that he had taken those questions from, it was Am I in a Cult questions.
Yeah, it was the Am I in a Cult checklist.
Well, was he trying to catch them out? What?
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
So he was trying to be skeptical of them.
His point was, we need to be careful that we don't have our life all about flat Earth. We need to avoid self-deception. We need to not make everything about our belief in the flat Earth.
That's not a bad skeptical point, actually. That's all right. Well
and
done.
It was universally lost on the audience, who did not. Right, when he said, this is from a list of questions about, are you in a cult? No one reacted to that like, that's interesting. It was just like, oh, okay, that's where
and
this
he then talked about a few things. He talked about a few things that he thought were common arguments that flat earthers would use. He talked about the Delphi technique, the Mandela effect, tree stumps. So some people believe that mountains are old tree stumps. and that the world was part of a forest.
Well, he said, first of all, because you get the, it's not calcification, but there are examples where old tree stumps have turned into basically rock.
Yeah.
Not quite rock, but they've taken on that kind of thing. Well, if tree stumps can become rocks, then all rocks were tree stumps. Therefore, mountains are all tree stumps because they got the same. Lots of them have got the same sort of shape as a tree stump.
Really
stump.
Big tree stumps.
So they're all really big tree stumps. So everything was just forests everywhere. Those mountains were all massive forests that have been cut down.
So the denial of plate tectonics as well. Then it's not like subduction zones, and it's
there's no plate tectonics.
And these are arguments that some flat earthers use, and he was saying that they shouldn't be used. Gender switching actors. That all male actors are actually female. All female actors are actually male.
So the conspiracy and I don't think he meant all, but I think he was doing the conspiracy.
He said all.
Yeah, but he was saying he put up a picture of Penelope Cruz.
Yes,
and there's people who say the conspiracy of Penelope Cruz is a man.
Yes,
and Jamie Lee Curtis is a man. So when he's saying all, he's basically saying whenever you see those conspiracies of did you know such and such actor is really a man or is really a woman, he said I don't believe in those. I think they're all nonsense. When he was saying that all actors are the opposite gender, he's saying those brackets of those that cluster of conspiracies.
But this was him. This was the guy saying this is all nonsense. Don't believe this.
He said we should leave aside all these ideas. They're bollocks.
Use these arguments. He was at least framing it as we shouldn't use these arguments.
Okay, right. I see.
What he did say was all of his belief in the flat Earth led him to the Bible and to God.
Okay.
Which we'll come to.
I mean, I've got a reasonable understanding why that might be the case, but we'll find out, I suppose.
His last one was that we shouldn't use false dichotomy. So he talked about how the ball versus the circle model, they were both wrong. There isn't enough evidence for the Earth being a flat circle that we shouldn't use that argument.
Sure.
Yeah, and so the reason he said that there isn't good evidence for the world being a flat circle, this is quite impressive because the majority of the people in that audience were subscribers, as best I could tell, or if they were to put their nickel down on one of the Earth models, they would say the circular Earth, so by which we mean Arctic Circle in the middle, splay the countries all out, Antarctica around the edge, either as a wall of ice or an infinite...
like the UN flag.
Well, yeah, coincidentally, exactly like the UN flag.
Okay.
And we'll come back to the UN. But so it was interesting that he was debunking that, because he was saying, the globe dismissed because all space missions are fake. That's why we know the globe one isn't true. But the circle Earth is counterintelligence put out to throw people off the scent. He said the AE, that's the name of the model of the circular Earth, is counterintelligence. He said the reason we know that is the sun would have to move too quickly around it for it to work. So the sun would have to go at different speeds in different places in order for that to work. And he said the distance east to west is much shorter at nearing what would be in the globe Earth the South Pole than it is at the equator. So you can't have a circular Earth where North Pole's in the middle, so tiny, tiny little circle,
and the
equator in the middle,
smeared around the outside.
Because your distance from South America to Africa would be huge compared to what it actually is.
Yes.
So that was very, very good.
He rounded up with do your own research, be your own authority, reiterated those points again, and then started talking about pyramids.
Well, I think before he did the pyramids, he started showing his version of the world. So this was
his version of the world was based on the pyramids.
No, it wasn't. That was his version of what the world is resting on, because the reason. So if you have a circular Earth and you've got the long circles around the southern part, the Antarctica part, how do you account for that? Well, you can't have a circular Earth. So what shape is the Earth if not a globe shape? Well, we know that towards Antarctica, towards the South Pole, as it were, everything's much shorter. So that lends itself to the point of a triangle. And we know at the North Pole, everything gets much shorter than at the equator. So that's also the point of a triangle. So the world is diamond-shaped. But how do you account for east-west travel? Because we know that east-west travel is possible. Yeah. So the way that he said, the only way to explain east-west travel in a diamond-shaped world is through the Pac-Man version of reality.
I mean, that's... What?
Which he said is a diamond with 4D space-time warps at the edges. So you go off the left of the screen, you come back on the right.
Yeah.
And that's why the diamond-shaped world works empirically when looking at the evidence. If you be your own authority, if you go for evidence-based skeptical research, you don't just trust YouTube, he said, be your own authority, evidence-based skeptical research, diamond world. That was all him looking at the evidence.
You're
then
still
he starts
wrong.
talking about pyramids.
No. he started off by talking about pyramids because how he got to diamonds was by drawing lots and lots of circles around the pyramids, and eventually got to a diamond that made literally no sense.
Honestly, he did the diamond thing first, and that was the base underneath. He definitely did, because he was saying he got there from the east-west travel, because I remember looking at it and saying, mate, if you were to take those space warps away on the two edges and join those edges up, you're making yourself the sphere. It all
but he said that after he'd started drawing the diamond from the pyramid. Honestly, you're trying to say that his argument makes no logical sense if he did it in that order. His argument made no logical sense. He did do it in that order.
Well,
he brought up pyramids, and he was talking about how with the pyramid at Giza and the king queen chambers beneath, then he starts drawing lines off from where the chambers are, and then he starts drawing random circles.
But the pyramids are important because they're aligned to true north, more aligned even than Greenwich is.
Yeah. And he started drawing all of these circles.
Which he said was the fact that they're on true north, more aligned than even Greenwich. That's impossible for people living in caves at the time. And there was a lady in front of us who was of Middle Eastern descent who turned to a friend and said, Egyptians didn't live in caves.
No.
No, it's fine.
That's remarkable.
So he starts drawing some circles.
There's a great Star of David in here as well, about David Icke's Thrilled.
But where he got
and
to the circles...
eventually he connects up some of the circles with some of the lines from the pyramid beneath to get the diamond shape. Sitting on top of 7 circles organised in a hexagon with a circle in the centre.
Okay.
Which he says is important because God likes 7s. He also likes 12. So there's 12 all the way around the outside, 12 pillars around the outside, and 7 pillars that this diamond-shaped Earth is sitting on top of.
And so
didn't really talk about what the pillars were for or the importance of the pillars, but it was important that there were 7 and 12.
Well, he did put up a screen as well that said the Earth has all these pillars, and it's not turtles, it's pillars, he said, without joking, which is almost identical to nonsense on stilts, essentially. But one of the reasons so the reason he was drawing circles is because pi is an important number.
Yes.
And so he said, I started looking at all the measurements of the pyramid.
Yes.
And eventually I found pi in such and such a place. Mm-hmm. Which is like, eventually you found that. So how long were you digging before you finally got to something in pi?
What I find particularly interesting is that he says that pi is important in circles and circles are generally important. The reason that circles and particularly spheres are very important is because in nature spheres are energetically favourable.
Yes.
Things form spheres because it's a low energy model.
Yes.
That's part of the reason planets are spherical.
Indeed, yeah.
But one of the things I really liked about all this is he was saying you can't trust YouTube, be your own authority. But we know that the Earth is set up this way and has these kind of properties because in the book of Job it says such and such. You're like, well, why is Job right? Be your own authority. Why are you following that?
I'm astonished that in an effort to disprove the spherical model, he has come up with this diamond-based model and put space warps at either end in what amounts to the denial of the Euclidean geometry. Because the inevitable consequence of the model he's building is a spherical Earth.
Yes.
But that can't possibly be the answer. Therefore, Euclidean geometry is wrong.
Yeah.
And there must be space warps that live at the corners of the planet.
And bear in mind, he had a slide up earlier as to why the globe is wrong and why the circle's wrong. And there was way, way more reasons why the circle is wrong, and fair play to him for that. But on the globe, one of the main reasons the globe was wrong was space travel's faked. So instead of all that, he puts up his own model, which is a diamond on the back of 7 circular pillars lifted up, with space warps at the edges all along the diamonds. Where's his checklist of reasons his model is wrong? I'm not quite sure.
He then showed how that fit into the solar system.
Yes, he did, yeah.
Which looks very bizarre, because he draws the solar system as the solar system does, in fact, look, minus Earth.
Yeah.
And then you've got this massive random set of what look like 7 concrete pillars with a flat diamond on it. He says a stationary diamond-shaped Earth that stars and other globe planets rotate around. So you've got Earth here, and then the solar system, including the sun and the other planets.
Yes.
Them all rotating around the sun and then rotating around the Earth as well, while the Earth is just sitting off, doing nothing.
Okay, so the rest of the solar system orbits around us, but otherwise looks the same as the solar system.
Yes.
Indistinguishable from the solar system, with the exception of Earth, instead of being round, is a diamond on the back of 7 circles beneath it all that the solar system rotates around.
Just sitting there.
Not all the planets.
Not all the planets. Pluto's not a planet.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Fuck Pluto.
It was made up to throw us off.
Nope.
No.
Nope. You've stepped off reservation on that one.
He calls it. He says the planets go retrograde. There's an Earth-centric model where the sun moves faster than the moon. Hence, eclipses move west to east. But other planets orbit the sun. However, Pluto is not a planet, and he calls it his geohelio system,
Right.
with a parallel solar system. He says this must be true because if you look at the card from the Illuminati board card game,
No.
The
from the
1979.
1970s, there's a picture of an Earth looking like a diamond on the flat Earth card of that game. If people want to Google that.
God, Lord! I mean, I'm looking at the picture from but this is his evidence. This is his data.
It's part of his evidence, yeah.
An Illuminati card game with a ship literally falling off the side of the Earth happens to be diamond shaped, and by diamond I mean square.
By diamond, you mean square? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It is a square. It's a square on its side.
But obviously, the ship couldn't actually fall off the edge of the Earth.
Yeah.
It would just warp on the other
It
side
would
again.
warp like
So
Pac-Man. This is the Pac-Man.
Half of the United States is
Theory.
missing as well, and I don't. Is Australia there?
Well,
Is
that's very much an artist's rendering. You know,
Okay.
there's some
But
artistic license in
it's
there.
the Illuminati's artist rendering.
So that's where
Well,
he
did
finished his talk.
He finished his talk by saying, "Well, there you go. If you dislike my theory, that's fine, but disprove it." That's not how it works.
No,
That
that's
is
not how it works at all, mate. No.
You put forward the theory with proof. You do your best to disprove it,
Yeah.
and you disprove the real model. But that was his talk.
Then Gary popped back up to tell us why water's wrong.
Yeah, it was specifically the hotel water in a glass bottle. He said, "I've seen
Plastic,
this
I think it
water."
was.
No, it was one of the
Was it a
glass
taller
ones.
one?
Yeah, because it was one of the ones from the actual hotel. He said,
Yes.
"They've given us this, and to be honest," he said, "How much for this water? A tenner? I'll go as far as 20. Oh, sorry, you thought you were charging me? No, I'll pay you £20 to drink it because the pH is all wrong. If you ask me, it's
It's pH 6.7,
yeah.
Yeah.
which, as far as I'm concerned, is acid.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, that's
I mean,
acid."
yes, that's scientifically is accurate. It's
He said,
just
"Do you know what I call
rubbish
this?
acid.
He said, "Do you know what I call this? I call this pouring water." I think he called it.
He said the only thing it's fit for is to go over my head to cool me down. I wouldn't drink it. It's disgusting.
Then he said he mentioned something about the audio being dodgy. And he said he definitely said fluoride and mobile phones are interfering with the audio at one point.
At another point, he said it was NASA interfering.
He was joking about NASA. I don't think he was joking about the mobiles or the fluoride. And he also blamed Lad Bible's microphones. So he was like, "Look, can you turn these microphones off because they're interfering?" It's like, it's not. It's just, it's bad. It's bad. So that was Gary. So we're now probably running at about an hour over?
Well, I can tell you exactly what time Iru started speaking because I wrote it down because they were running so far behind. Iru started talking at 11:39 a.m.
Okay, and he was down to speak at about 10:30?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
So
We
this
had a fire drill at QED.
yeah.
Started on time.
Yep, correct.
Iru, the third speaker, Iru Landucci from Argentina, he had an amazing accent, a proper thick Argentinian accent.
You were really attracted to his accent
I love
until he
his
started
accent.
just saying things.
Yeah, he realised what he believed. Like, no.
Because you were enjoying the way we were. I mean, he did have a lovely accent, and when he said words like Egyptian, he's like Egyptian. So he's like,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when we spoke to the Sheepshans, oh, Sheepshans, this is brilliant. But then we heard what he was saying. He was like, oh, but this is mad.
So he has a YouTube channel called No Para Todos with 42,500 subscribers.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's big news out there. So they did mention that he was given 2 hours to speak. So he was going to do an hour.
No. He wasn't given 2 hours to speak. He was actually given less than 2 hours to speak. He'd brought a 2-hour talk.
Yes.
They'd given him much shorter
Like
to
an hour.
speak. But he'd brought a 2-hour talk. So
Yes.
they were like, well, we're going to try and get him to split it up and talk at different times. So this was the first of at least 3 times that he spoke.
Yeah, and the first time he spoke, it went on for about 2 hours in this first section. And I think he got through 70 slides because he wasn't using presenter mode. He was using just normal PowerPoint mode, so you could see all his slides down the side.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't remember why. He said he was doing that for a reason. I can't
So he
remember.
could scrub
wanted
through
to
the
click
videos
in and out
because
for
he had loads of videos. You want to sort of like go along them. So he got to slide 70 or something, and that was maybe a fifth or a sixth of the progress bar down the side.
He must have had at least 200 slides in that present. I don't know how his PowerPoint didn't keep crashing because it was full of videos as well.
Why did they not arrange this with him before the event instead
I
of?
don't think they had much control over how much he wanted to speak, and also I think he was financially contributing to the conference.
No.
From the website, I think he might have been.
Not from the conversation I had with Gary.
Oh, I thought...
No, it was going the other way.
You talked to Gary?
No, I know
I was going to come to that, but yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
I know they paid for his flights and stuff, but I think he was a supporter of the conference. On their website, it says
he was definitely a supporter of the conference, but it wasn't a financial supporter. From the figures, the balance sheet that Gary showed me when I saw him, he was just brandishing that around happy show. Which, in fairness, fair play on the transparency, because he wasn't making a huge amount of money. They weren't making money on this. If anything, I'm sure they were making a loss.
Yeah.
One of the first things they mentioned about Iru is that he arrived from Argentina a day earlier than planned, which I thought that's got to be just one of the many pitfalls of having a model of the world that doesn't account for the international dateline. That's got to be this stuff's got to happen from time to time.
Iru said he'd been involved in research for 13 years, which started with 9/11 and vaccination.
Yeah, it was 13 years for the New World Order, 4 years on Flat Earth, conspiracy radio for 4 years, plus GMOs, 9/11 and vaccines. Plus, did you have Germanic medicine as well? He
believes in Germanic medicine. He's trained in NLP. He had an out-of-body experience when he was 21, 22 years old.
Sure he did.
I think he's 37, he said. So he's been involved in it for a long time, but Flat Earth in the last 4 years. But he believes everything.
He does believe everything. I mean, specifically on the Germanic medicine, right? He said 99% of all disease is psychological. Cancer is caused by emotional factors.
Disease is emotional was his general...
Okay. Alice, cancer caused by emotional factors?
No.
No? Okay.
Tick, good.
Not even slightly.
To hear Alice say that in a slightly longer fashion, go to the Australian National Skeptics Convention and she will say, she'll elongate that nope over about an hour with slides.
He was very proud that he got a letter from the astrophysics department in his city. In fact, he then went into a bit of a spiel about how our voices are heard out there. And he pointed to Obama discussing Flat Earth and said, so these leaders know it's coming out. This kind of leader don't want to waste time on conspiracy theory. Flat Earth is considered a political issue. And he had a video showing how many times Obama had mentioned Flat Earth during speeches and various other politicians and big names.
Yeah, but with Obama, it was him saying along the lines, I think it was in a specific speech he gave about the Republicans, where he said, if I said the world was round, they'd say the world is flat. But what he did is he cut to they say the world is flat, and that's all they showed. And so he showed loads of videos, and he did that editing all the way through, and he even hit a hard edit. So he did this like ching kind of flash at the end of all his edits, and all it said was to me, "Oh, you've cut something out you didn't like there." And the other thing he did to even emphasise that, he'd have a clip from someone, and they'd say a couple of words in a row which he could use to support his point. He'd cut immediately and then replay them saying those words in slow motion with a filter, and then clip immediately and then show them again saying those words in slow motion. So, so what they said next wasn't good for you and useful. It wasn't useful for you, was it? It was out of context. Yeah.
He pointed out that scientists believe 18 to 24-year-olds believe in Flat Earth. So millennials are more prone to believe in the Flat Earth.
Okay. Yeah, which was a study that came out recently by YouGov. So it wasn't a bad PR study as far as I could tell. It was a study from YouGov, but yeah.
And then he went on to your favourite thing, Marsh. He started talking about languages.
Oh, fuck me. This is the thing that wound me up. So there's lots of things that he said that should have wound me up the most. But the stuff that wound me up the most was his kind of like symbolism of language and linguistics. So one of the things he said, for example, was the UN. Now, we know the UN is evil.
He was saying that there's one organisation that rules the world. UN, one
world order. So specifically he said one world order, the UN. We know the UN's evil. And the way we know the UN is evil, okay, so follow this, Mike. The Spanish translation of UN is ONU. And it's along the lines of like Organisation for Nations United, but in Spanish,
Yeah.
If you read ONU backwards, you get
So you've translated it to Spanish, and then you're turning it backwards.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is uno, which is Spanish for one.
It is.
Which means one world order.
Yes.
Thing is, as Alice pointed out, UN is already French for one.
Yes, it is. Yes.
but I said, well, yeah, but UN backwards is nu, which is French for naked. So you've also got to bear that in mind. So they are the naked ones in charge of the world. I also said that Iru, the guy's name, Iru, I-R-U, is backwards Uri. So maybe he's Uri Geller. So there's that.
He talked for a very, very, very long time about education. He said that he pointed out this thing that we often say, that you have to have a lot of people involved in a conspiracy theory in order to make the conspiracy work.
Yes.
His argument was that all these professionals having to be involved in the greatest conspiracy in history, but in fact they're all brainwashed. They've all been through education. They've all been programmed, so they don't need to be involved in the conspiracy theory itself. They've washed their brains.
They washed their brains.
He actually phrased it.
Yeah, they washed their brains. Yep.
And then talked about the history of education, which he said was originally coming from religion, that it was all to do with the Vatican and
the Jesuits.
It seems to be that there's a lot of people. Well, there were a couple of people I spoke to over the weekend who seemed very distrustful of the Vatican and that they were part of this massive conspiracy.
But that's the fascinating thing, because he was very, I would say, anti-religious in the sort of the Davidite conspiracy level of anti-religion.
Yes.
But believes in a creator. He didn't say it, but every single person I spoke to who said they weren't religions, that they believed in a creator.
Yeah, but like he was anti-religion, anti-organised religion, anti-Bible. He mentioned that the Bible, he brought the Bible up several times, and we'll come to those. So it was just fascinating that he was almost directly followed the guy who said, Flat Earth brought me to the Bible, and one of the reasons I know this is true is the book of Job said such and such. And the audience accepted both of those things. It's not that they went, oh, I'm not sure about his stuff over there, but I like what he's saying over here. They accepted all of that without blinking.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating that you get both sides of those coin, and if you just cut the data up or cut the conversation up, the rhetoric up in a different way, you get different things. Really,
because what happens in this in these kind of conspiracies usually is that it doesn't matter what the real story is; it just matters that the official story is wrong.
And that was the theme of the weekend.
Yeah. He went on to talk about UNESCO, that they're involved in brainwashing because they were founded by the Freemasons.
Yeah, he didn't like the Freemasons.
He mentioned Robert Plot. And pointed out that it's really important that plot translates to trama in Spanish.
I think that's spectacularly important.
Which was he saying that was kind of like a bit like trauma
or
drama?
So. I have no idea, because he literally just put plot equals TRMA, and everybody in the room kind of went, ooh, and kind of bristled a little bit.
Don't know.
I don't know
what it means is he's used to giving this presentation in Spanish, where you can go, well, UNO, the ONU, obviously the UN, because he wouldn't say the UN. You go like, well, we have the ONU. How do we get that to mean one? We've got to do it backwards because we're already in Spanish.
Yes. And
similarly with this, it's like, there's this, but everyone just took that point as if they were fluent in Spanish, and they weren't.
And then he talked about how we shouldn't call family because family translates to slavery.
Yeah, there was loads of things about the roots of stuff.
It's all getting a bit Freeman on the land, isn't it?
Well, it had that kind of element, but not quite. He said about how the word library comes from bibliotech, which comes from Bible, because all knowledge is controlled by religion.
Except Bible doesn't. But bibliotech doesn't come from Bible.
No, they both come from a word meaning book.
Yes.
A Latin word meaning book. He, despite being from Latin America and speaking a Latin language, he couldn't translate Latin to save his fucking life. He'd also said at one point before this, actually, studies showed that if you take children in America and in Greece and ask them to draw the Earth, if they're very, very young children, they draw a flat Earth. Which is proof that the world is flat and education is indoctrination. And he's got a point, because also our hair isn't really connected to our heads. It just kind of floats above it like a sausage.
Yes.
And because if you talk to any 3-year-old or 4-year-old, get the draw someone, you just get this sausage of hair hanging over the head. So, and also, did you know the sun secretly has a smiley face?
It does.
If you look at that, children know you get
true.
it indoctrinated out of you. Aldous Huxley, the writer, his brother was in the UN. So that's a clue that the UN is dodgy, because Aldous Huxley, he wrote the book The Doors of Perception, and also he wrote a screenplay for Alice in Wonderland. So those are all clues that the UN's dodgy.
Of course they are. I mean, obviously.
Billionaires use astrology to do their work.
Yes, billionaires use astrology. That came back a couple of times over the weekend. He quoted Freud, talking about psychology, which, Freud is these days completely discredited in psychology. But at one point he did say, so, maybe one day they'll say you need to go to a psychologist because you believe the flat Earth. So, yeah, that's today, Iru. That's today. That's what you should have spent your extra day in England on. He had a list of jobs. Did you?
I stopped taking notes. I got really fed up of.
I've got loads of notes on him here. He had a list of jobs that you can study to be. You can. It was literally like some educational poster. Learn to study to be a. And it was like doctor, nurse, engineer, all this kind of stuff. And astronaut was on there. He said, "Well, that's a lie, because you can't study to be an astronaut. There's no course in astronauting. You can only be an astronaut if you are picked by finger by the Freemasons and the Jesuits." So because he kept going about the Jesuits a lot, the Jesuits.
Yeah.
Aren't they normally pilots, though, astronauts? They're like scientists or like...
Or scuba divers.
Or scuba divers.
We'll come back to scuba divers.
Okay. The Earth's core the idea of the Earth having a core, that was just invented by a man one day. So it can't be true. I mean, the flat Earth was also invented by someone one day, but that doesn't matter. So he started talking about stuff in the middle of cores. Then he started getting to atoms.
Right.
Atoms can't be true because the middle of an atom, that's a nucleus, okay? Nucleus.
Yes.
Which comes from, the word nucleus comes from nucleus. Right. Nu in Latin, meaning light, and cleus in Latin, as in of Cleopatra. So nucleus literally means the light of Cleopatra, because this is all controlled by the Egyptians, their line that goes through the religions. It was controlled first by the Egyptians. Which is why, because nu is like Latin, light, like nor, light, which is why North Star means bright light. Except nucleus doesn't mean light of the Cleopatra.
No.
Nu is from nux, meaning nut. Nucleus means kernel of the nut, the bit in the middle of the nut. But what was really irritating is literally like 2 or 3 slides later, or maybe it was 20 slides, it was really hard to tell because he went on for ages. But he showed up Harvard, the university, and had their motto, Lux et Veritas. And he said, and this is Latin, meaning light and truth. So, well, is it Lux or Nux? What's light? Why are you changing your mind? Just stick to the Latin. At one point he argued that Earth is flat, right? We know the Earth is flat, because you see all these crop circles, right, that aliens are landing. All those crop circles are fake. They're not really aliens doing it. And they're fake to make you think there are aliens, so you think there is space.
Oh, God, that's a
This is a common theme that a lot of people think that things that are faked by NASA, things that are faked by anybody are in order to convince us of something else, to convince us that the Earth is round.
Yeah.
But why?
Why is there such a vested interest in us all believing that the world is round? I believe the world is round. It doesn't come into my life that often.
No.
It comes into my life a lot, probably, because of satellites and stuff, but it doesn't come into my consciousness ever. I don't change how I decide to do things because the world is round.
Oh, this one, you'll enjoy this one. He put up a slide of some dinosaurs and some other animals.
Oh, this is amazing.
So he said, if you look at dinosaurs, they don't make sense. Because you see, like here, if you take an alligator and a rhino and a giraffe, and you just merge those images together, you basically get a dinosaur.
There were at least 4 animals. There was like a turtle and an alligator and a giraffe and a rhino. And if you combine them all together and paint it green, then it's a dinosaur.
And it's a dinosaur. So that's what they did.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, that's how they faked dinosaurs. Whenever you see pictures of dinosaurs, the reason they look like these animals is because they're taken from those animals. They take part of an animal over here, mix them together, and the visual editors who mix those things together, the artists, draw that as a dinosaur.
Because they have no creativity whatsoever and subscribe to the Jeff Goldblum's The Fly version of evolution.
Similarly, like my dad and my sister, right, they look a bit like a photo I saw of my grandma when she was younger, and that's because whoever made that photo took images of my dad and my auntie and sort of merged them together to draw a young grandma.
Wow.
That's how that worked. We had the motto of NATO. Again, coming into his Latin translations, the motto of NATO is Vigilia Pretium Libertatis, which is translated as the price of freedom is surveillance. How sinister is that? He said. Look how sinister. The price of freedom is surveillance. Could that be more sinister? Vigilia Pretium Libertatis. Vigilia, as in vigilance.
Yes.
Because that's what it fucking means. It's written in front of you. How have you mistranslated vigilia into surveillance, not vigilance? That's so disingenuous. It's annoying as fuck. Elon Musk, his name translates as the son of light. Apparently, so that's got to be important. He's got loads of translations for the word light, because now Elon or Musk, one of those ones means light. Yeah. Not sure which one. Apparently, he said, and he just appeared one day out of nowhere. I don't know if he meant that literally or figuratively, because we can't tell if he believes that's true or is using that metaphorically as he was just a nobody and came to be. But no one knows where he came from. And that's important because SpaceX, right? Yeah. SpaceX is SpaceX sex.
Oh. What?
SpaceX.
Yes.
SpaceX.
Yes.
It's sex.
Right.
It's all about sex.
What is?
Satanism.
Okay. All right. Fine.
So this is where we transfer into his NASA's all Satanist.
Like Elon
phase.
Musk came from PayPal.
Yeah.
That's where Elon Musk came. We know where he came from.
Where was he before PayPal?
He was a programmer who invented PayPal.
Where was he before programming?
That's how he did. I don't know if he was a programmer or not, but he was just a bloke who invented PayPal.
Son of light.
That made him pretty rich, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Is this when we break for lunch, or have we still got a lot more Eru?
Loads more pictures of NASA scientists to show how satanic they are. Loads of satanic type stuff. Loads of astronauts in NASA. When the astronauts are up in space, do the rock fingers when they're floating around.
Yeah.
What, are they all massive fans of heavy metal? I don't think all these people we're supposed to be, they're all huge heavy metal fans. No, they're Satanists.
I swear there was even one guy who was just like lifting up his hand and had two of his fingers kind of
he was like
just like going to reach for something.
Yeah.
Two fingers slightly lower than the other two.
Yeah, we're supposed to believe they're all heavy rockers. No, they're all Satanists. It's very, very clear because NASA aren't allowed to lie.
NASA aren't allowed to lie ever. So whenever anybody asks them if they're in zero gravity, instead of answering the question, they just do a somersault.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to say no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a lie of omission, but it's
but they're not allowed to lie.
Lies of omission aren't lies to him because he also showed at one point a badge and it had words like a motto around it, but not like motto, but like sort of like values.
Yes.
And one of the values was like shenanigans or something like that. And it was clearly like a bit of a joke type thing. Is that we see because they're not allowed to lie. So it says right there shenanigans. It says shenanigans because they're doing shenanigans. They've got to tell you, like they're a policeman, which is not true anyway. Then he started talking about a NASA photo of the moon. Stamped on the photo, time-stamped, PAN. What could that mean? What is this picture of the moon that NASA have taken? What could that possibly mean? Pan, Mike. What could that possibly mean on a photograph?
Pan? Is it a pan? I don't know.
Panorama?
Well, no, it's not panorama, though. It's the god Pan.
As in the pipes?
The pipe guy.
All right.
So he put up a picture of the pipe guy and stuff.
Goatee pipey.
And he's definitely evil.
And
definitely evil.
Not a panorama.
Not a panorama like NASA tell you, because they're not allowed to lie. But they've lied there. But they're not lying because they put the word pan, and then they've told you it means panoramic. But maybe aren't allowed to lie in writing.
They don't tell you that it means panoramic.
But he did also say NASA says panoramic. So he did, but they're not allowed to lie. But they did lie, and that's because they're all ruled by the god Pan. Because they're Satanists. They're all Satanists. They're pan everywhere. Pan. Pangea, for example.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, Gaia from Gaia meaning Earth, Pan meaning the god Pan. So this is Earth of the demons.
No, Pan meaning like the Latin word pan.
No, Mike, Pan meaning demons. Earth of the demons, Satanism. This is all Satanism. What this has to do with the flat Earth? Fuck all right now, but doesn't matter. This is all just part of the
I feel like I had a very unique opportunity during Iru's talk, and I feel like anybody who's ever listened to Be Reasonable will be incredibly jealous of me being in that experience because Marsh was actually enraged. He was in my ear going, but that doesn't mean that, getting really irate and angry and losing his cool.
Like, how dare you? Like, what? Nucleus doesn't mean the fucking light of Cleopatra because you want it to. It's not. It's kernel of the nut. Just look the words up. Like, Latin is well known and well understood, and you can't say, oh, this is Latin for something. If you haven't looked at what it means in Latin, fucking Google, knobhead. He also said, right, so he showed a lot of stuff about, this is where just...
I love that we found what pushes your button.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
That and people who say that Shakespeare was Francis Bacon, the two of them. As we're coming towards lunch, 2 hours or so into his 1.5 hour talk, we've got a lot more to come. He started showing the real-time video editing software that you get.
Right.
You know, the stuff where you can like blank stuff out. It's stood in front of a green screen, and you can get these really sophisticated 3D-looking models behind you with like transparencies and reflections and texture. Sure. And this is what NASA are using. They're not really in space. They're in front of a green screen. They're on wires. They're floating around on wires is what they're doing.
Lots of videos of the wires.
Loads of proof of the videos.
What is it called of wires? Argos.
Argos.
The wires are called Argos.
Yeah.
Because of some kind of language thing. Like God of something or other.
God of something or other, yeah, because it's all to do with demons and stuff. And you see them going up on the wires and coming down and moving around on the wires.
Sometimes they accidentally drop people so they fall over when they, hit the ceiling and then suddenly come back down because they've hit the ceiling.
Yeah, you see floating astronauts doing a backflip, their foot touches the ceiling, they come back down quickly. No, that's because their wires, they got their wires caught.
They got dropped.
So there's two things here.
No, it's because they had an elastic collision with the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, there's two things. One, when they said Argos, the guys behind us who were totally on board with the flat Earth did say, oh yeah, he's got loads of little pens as well, have they now? So, laminated catalogues. And I said, shit, do you think that's what the wires are for? You go into an Argos warehouse out back, and to get the stuff off the shelves, they're on these massive wires. They float up the ceiling, grab your toaster, float back down again and give them that. So there was that. But they were also showing, like, if you look, they're doing a tumble, they're doing a backflip. Why are they all doing backflips? Because they're on wires, so they can only do backflips. But one of the videos they showed of him doing of a astronaut doing a backflip, he did a backflip and spun at the same time. It corkscrewed.
It wasn't quite organised, and there were 4 of them doing a backflip at the same time, so he ended up like going sideways.
Yeah, not only was he going end over end, but he was also spinning around.
Yeah.
So he was going through all 3 dimensionals at once. So where were the wires attached for that to be possible without him catching himself on the wire? It's literally not possible to do that, no matter how many times you show footage of David Copperfield being wired around.
There was that time when somebody grabbed somebody's shirt and it kind of looked like they were grabbing a wire.
Yeah, when someone was starting to float away a bit and get out of shot, someone grabbed them to steady them.
Yeah.
No, they were grabbing the wire. They were holding the wire.
And there was the girl who fell over and she was about to fall on the floor even though there was no gravity. So somebody next to her very quickly pulled a baseball out of his pocket.
Which he did. Because you've got 4 astronauts being interviewed,
right?
And they're all floating around. And clearly the astronaut has gone, I'll tell you what would be pretty cool. I'll get this baseball out and just float it in front of my face. But no, this was all happening not in 0G, in perfectly normal gravity. But this woman, her wires, the female astronaut, her wires were starting to get caught. She was starting to fall. So to distract from her falling, he got a baseball out of his pocket to distract you. And then floated it in front of his face in non-zero G. Your argument is self-defeating. And he said, why would they have a baseball on, they cost all this money to send stuff into space, but they had a baseball on them? It's ridiculous. Like, well, maybe they wanted to fuck around with a baseball in zero gravity. They do experiments up there.
I want to know what the hair argument is.
Because they said all the hair's floating.
Yeah.
So the float in zero G. Well, a guy later said, well, it's all just hairspray. So NASA's all wires and hairspray. So they just hairspray their hair up, and that's why they stuck. Loads of footage of like astronauts moving around the ship and glitches in imagery, stuff like that. But we know they're using this real-time video editing technique on green screen. The reason we know that is if you look up the name of the software, look at their website, NASA's listed as a client. So it's proof that they're using it.
Is it?
Well, it's proof they're using it.
Well, possibly.
No, it's not necessarily proof they're using it for that. But no, it's proof they're using it. NASA can fake the moon landings, fake around Earth, be in control of a global conspiracy, but can't keep their website off their logo off the website of a supplier. Contractual or something. Don't know.
Well, they're not allowed to lie, though, are they?
Not allowed to lie.
That's true.
There was loads more of it, but this probably takes us to lunch, I think.
Yeah,
because we've got
we had lunch.
3 hours of Iru to get through for this weekend.
So that's just like the first morning.
Sort of.
And lunch came late. We were overrunning by maybe about 2.5, maybe closer to 3 hours by that point.
Because we've already done an hour of this show now.
Yeah, like I'm saying, this is going to be a long show, and this is why we're not going to give you the entire conference this show. I think I've only thrown 4 pieces of paper away. I've got 6 more in front of me, but
Good Lord.
We'll fly through, and I think some of these are, it's fine.
I mean, I think we both stopped taking notes on Iru after a while. The only notes I've got for Iru on the next bit are very short, and then I haven't got any for his third bit.
Well, we had a quite interesting conversation at lunch with a nice chap from Bristol who was saying, and he came up and talked to us, which was very, very nice. And he was asking about how'd you get into this, and we have a little bit of a chat. And he said, the thing is, what I like to show people, he was saying, is this tracker that shows all the planes in America. And you can see them on a map, you can see them blinking and about, you can see them all doing that, and there's a video footage of it.
Up so you can see lots and lots and lots of them at once.
Thousands all flying around.
Yes.
But what they also allow you to do is turn to the side, so you're not looking on the map, you're looking at their elevation.
Yes.
And you can see them. They're on the ground here, and they fly up, and then they reach a height, and they come back down again.
Yes.
Now, if the Earth was round, why aren't we seeing a parabola? It's straight lines. They can't be doing straight lines.
Because it's not a photograph. It's like computer simulation rendering thing of just their height above the surface of the Earth.
It's the height above the surface of the Earth, yeah.
So the ground is also flat.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying to him, well, yeah, that's interesting, because wouldn't a globalist say that that's measuring the elevation from a point, which is the ground? This isn't fixed point stuff, is it? Like, here's London over here, and how
far are you
different
from
London? And he said, yeah, but we'd still see a parabola. I said, no. Think of it this way. Imagine I'm wearing a hat.
Yes.
Right, and I did genuinely say this. Imagine I'm wearing a hat, right? And you have a tracker on that hat that tells how far off the ground it is. If I walk up a hill, that hat is still on my head. Yeah. I'm about 6 foot tall. So your tracker's going to say 6 foot off the ground. I can walk up and down hills all day, but you're still going to say 6 foot off the ground. And you went, that's interesting. See, that's what I really like, because I really like to find arguments like that out, so I can then give them to other people. I'll be ready for them. So, but he was pretty nice. He also said, if you hit water with enough force, a really low amount of force, it creates sound and light. And that
So that what he was saying was that a sound in water creates light.
Right.
Which is true.
Yes.
I looked this up. It's definitely true that you can get what is called sonoluminescence, sound creating light in water.
Yes.
So his argument was that maybe stars are not actually stars, they're sound in water. And the universe is water, and we've got sound creating starlight.
And rain is when it comes down out of the sky.
So at this point, he says, therefore, the stars are on the firmament, which is water, because water above, water below, that's your classic Genesis stuff.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, he was also religious.
So your water's above, and the sound, because the reason the stars look like that effect in water, because they are that effect in water. There's sounds out there. That's what's happening there.
What he didn't know was that when I've looked up sonoluminescence, when sound creates light, it creates light through tiny, tiny little bubbles, and they can only be tiny, tiny little bubbles. And they're tiny, tiny little bubbles that can only exist for between 1 and 35 picoseconds. A picosecond is a millionth of a second.
Yes.
They can recur, so they can keep being generated and falling, but they're...
Yeah.
So it wouldn't account for
they don't last very long.
the North Star being static.
Static stars, exactly.
So that was lunch. Then we're back. More Iru. Classic. Oh, but the other thing that happened while we're talking to that chat, the very nice chap from Bristol, is a journalist came over and introduced himself as a journalist and said, "Do you mind if we chat to you about why you guys are here? How do you get into Flat Earth? What brought you here?" And I said, "Could we maybe have this conversation tomorrow? I'd be happy to chat to you then." He said, "Well, I'm not here tomorrow." I was, "Oh, okay. Well, I'd rather not be on record if that's okay, because I thought I don't want to tell you." I don't want to lie to him.
Yes.
I also don't want to say I'm from a skeptical society where I'm talking to someone here who we're just chatting to understand what they believe, because I don't want to totally change the tone of this conversation and the tone of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
So in the end, we kind of just said we wouldn't chat to him. And afterwards, I collared him at the end of lunch. I saw him walk past him and I said, look, can I just have a quick word with you? Just to let you know, I'm from a skeptic group. We don't believe this is true. We're just looking into this. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so I looked him up on Twitter, and he started following him. He started following me. And we DM each other throughout the weekend with little sort of tips. So as we're doing that, Iru, one of the first things that I really noticed, I forget, God knows where he came back in, because one of the things about Iru, it was meandering around and everything was disconnected from everything else.
Yeah, he
Nothing
was just saying
flowed.
stuff. It was stuff he'd stumbled across probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
And had just put it all together in a big talk, and the presentation wasn't structured in any way.
Yeah, and that's not a language thing. I'm sure even in his own language, his presentation style will be identical. It's not like, he was struggling in a second language or anything like that. He might be talking a bit slower in a second language, but there was no coherent thread. Yeah. So we're now talking about how the Jesuits control everything. It's all controlled by the Jesuits, at which point he puts up a copy of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Los Protocolos, it was a Spanish version.
Okay.
Yeah, saying if you read this, it's out there, this is the Jesuit manual, this is what they're doing. And
he tried to read it.
Sorry?
He tried to read it.
He did. He only got 5 pages.
He read 5 pages, and then it was too bad. It was too awful. It was too horrific.
Yeah, too disgusting that they do it.
That they could possibly believe that.
Yeah.
But what's this got to do with a flat Earth?
Well, also
Jesuits in control.
It's not what Jesuits believe. It was made up.
Yeah, it's made up about the Jews, and I don't know whether Jesuits and Jews they're using interchangeably.
I think so.
I think they are, or it's a translational issue. Not in the sense of the words meaning different things, the word meaning the same thing, but the theory has been transplanted onto Jesuits in one place and Jews in another. I'm not 100% sure, because Jesuits aren't Jews, but they are often talked about in the same kind of ways when you go back to kind of the older order type stuff. Then we're back on astronauts worshipping Baal now. For some reason, I forget why they were worshipping Baal, but they're worshipping Baal.
He did say, this is my interpretation of the facts.
He did say that, at which point you laughed, wrote that down, underlined it. So that was good. Then he started talking about orbs.
We're not a planet.
We're not. No, yeah, he did say that's not a planet. But before he said that, he was talking about orbs. So one of the reasons they want us to think that the world is a globe is because they worship orbs. Right. Orbs are a demonic symbol. And we know that, for example, because look at when Trump went to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
He had that orb of light. And they all gathered around the orb of light and pressed their hands on the orb of light. And this is all symbolism. This is all Satanism. This is all ritual.
Sure.
It's all about orbs. That's why they need us to think that the Earth is an orb, because...
Orbs.
Don't know why they'd need to think that. They could do other stuff with orbs and stuff gets around, it's fine. But yeah, the Earth isn't a planet because planet means wandering star, and stars are meant to be light. Stars
Planets are energies, a source of light not made of earth or rock.
Yeah. So planets are just energies. We aren't energies.
Yes.
Planets are just energies, nothing more. That's why all planets are sources of light.
No.
No. And then the last thing...
But they're actually... No.
I think it's literally only Jupiter that gives out more light than it receives.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
All the other planets, we see them because they're reflecting light from the sun.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Jupiter gives out more light than it receives, but it's the only one.
Then he one of the last things he said, and bear in mind these notes. This is another hour of content.
He
basically,
definitely
I think,
talked
or
for at
something
least
like that.
another hour.
So he's sort
lunch.
of done about 3 hours at least at this point. But the other thing he pointed out, he said, if you're an atheist, right, you might think you don't worship a god, but you do.
Okay.
Because atheists...
Yes.
Atheist, the word, comes from the Greek mountain god Athos.
No.
Atheists are worshippers of Athos.
No.
The god of sun.
So you are worshipping Athos when you're an atheist.
No,
That's Greek. That's Greek, Mike. That's Greek.
No, that's not how it works, though.
No, Iru can't translate any languages. He's an equal opportunity mistranslator, it turns out. I found Iru's presentation, like seeing Darren's presentation, was quite interesting.
Yeah.
I disagreed with it.
Yeah.
But at least he was presenting relatively coherence until he started doing the here are all the reasons, here are all the skeptical reasons that their theory's bollocks. You need to be attention to detail. You need to follow the evidence. So that's why I started drawing circles on a pyramid and came up with a diamond Earth with 12 pillars underneath. He didn't apply that skepticism in the slightest to his own theory, but at least there was coherence to the flaw with that jump in the middle. Iru was just throwing stuff and just meandering around paranoia, essentially. So that was a bit of a problem. Contrast to all of that was the next guy, Dave Marsh.
He was so sweet.
Yeah, he's quite nice. I like
so
Dave.
Excited by it all, like massively excited. He was converted by YouTube. This seems to be the common theme with flat earthers: is they are both either converted by or convinced by YouTube.
Yeah, but also don't trust Google.
Okay,
YouTube is their most reliable source.
Yes,
and they I didn't meet a single person who wasn't convinced by the reliability of people creating content on YouTube, nor did I meet anybody who seemed to be able to grasp why YouTube might not be a reliable source in any way. Not even hypothetically why it might not be reliable. So he was converted by YouTube.
I think you had a special reason for warming so much to Dave.
He was from 3 miles from where I'm from.
Oh, I see.
It took you disturbingly long to realise that.
Because I recognised his accent. I'm not very good at identifying accents at all, but I recognised it as familiar. So I recognised a really familiar accent that wasn't Scouse. I spend all my time with you guys, so I was like, is he northeastern? And then eventually I realised, oh no, he's from my hometown.
And by eventually, it's when he put up a screenshot of timeanddate.com with his postcode in it. And you're like, Ripley. Oh, right, he's from Ripley. He's from Ripley. Yeah. He did say
that's why the accent was familiar.
He said early on in his talk about how I think we'd all agree that we don't trust or we don't like the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah, and the whole room kind of bristled. And
there was a real kind of no, they were on board. They were it was like, the Flat Earth Society, bloody hell, them. Which is, again, there's so many schisms in the Flat Earth community.
Yeah.
Partly, I think, because
they can't... skepticism look united. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It really does. If all we need to find out now is that they've got a massive problem with sexual harassment and we can rake in our moral superiority, it'll be brilliant. So I think it's because they have the schisms because they can't coalesce around a view of the world, partly because they do take YouTube as an ultimate authority, and so they aren't particularly good at analysing their own ideas, and partly because they've got a model of the world they're rejecting the best fit model of the world and trying to find fits that they're happy with.
I don't think we should or could really talk that much about Dave Marsh's talk because it was interesting to see how enthusiastic he was about the research that he thought he was doing. He was measuring the moon. He was going out taking photos of the moon at specific times of day, of night, and at specific points within its phases to try and prove that the world isn't round. He'd done it incredibly thoroughly, and he had tried very hard to actually keep his variables as constant as possible. Yeah. And he was super excited about it, but it was, oh my God, it was the most boring thing in the world.
It sort of was because
it was showing every single step of experimenting in minute detail.
It's specifically including the bit where he put the numbers into Excel, where he did a time-lapse video of him putting the numbers into Excel. And we watched
even like sitting through my own experimentation like that in that much detail, let alone it was a bit much.
But it was a decent stab at scientific experiment. I'm no scientist, so to be fair to him, it's better science than I've done myself. There were some faulty assumptions in there, though, because he did say at one point, we shouldn't see the moon in the day according to the heliocentric model.
That's not what he said.
Okay.
I looked into this a little bit more. So what he said was, with the heliocentric model, a full moon in the daytime should be impossible. And it should be impossible. A completely full moon in the middle of the daytime is impossible, because a full moon is when you have got the sun with the earth and the moon directly in line with each other. That's how the moon is completely full.
Sure.
The reason we sometimes see what looks like a full moon in the daytime is because it's either not a completely full moon, you just can't quite see by eye, or it's a blue sky with light, but it's not technically daytime. The sun has dropped below the horizon.
Sure, yeah.
But it's still light enough for it to look like there's a blue sky that you've got the moon on.
Yeah. He also said you can never have the sun and moon in the same hemisphere.
No, that's not true.
And he said because when the sun is in the summer hemisphere, the moon is in the winter hemisphere.
Okay, he's using a completely different definition of the word hemisphere then.
Yeah, I can't even get to what that last bit means.
No.
Unless he thinks the moon causes winter and the sun causes summer? Can't be that.
Well, I think he's misunderstanding the tilt of the axis. Like, if the Earth wasn't tilted, I guess.
But also, hemisphere means like half a sphere.
Yeah.
It only makes sense in a globe model.
Well, that's why he's saying the globe model is not true, because you can't have the sun and moon you can't have the sun and moon in the same hemisphere when the sun's in summer, the moon's in winter, but we see the sun and moon in the same hemisphere.
No, but what's a solar eclipse then? They're literally one on top of the other.
Well, we dispute the eclipse several times throughout.
But there's nothing in the globe model that says that solar eclipses can't happen.
No,
which means they can be in the same hemisphere, which means his argument is nonsense.
So at the end of all of Dave's experimentation, his numbers seem to disagree with the official figures by, it wasn't that much. I mean, looking at it, it was like sort of 4 or 5%, which, given that he was setting up a camera in his backyard on an extreme zoom and then having to do that every single day to see how the moon differed, getting that inch by inch, millimetre perfect could account for his discrepancies. But no, instead he said he threw out, because his numbers didn't match what was official by timeanddate.com, he threw out the official story of the moon and said, it's a projection. I think you've got...
He said the moon is some sort of natural projection. It's in the electromagnetic ether.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he said... So his conclusion, the last line of the conclusion basically was, so what is the moon? Well, to be honest, we could study it for 1,000 more years and we'd never know. But I believe it was placed there for a reason. Bye. That was it. Placed? By who? By what? Don't leave us there. You've given us like 45 minutes of you inputting numbers into an Excel spreadsheet. The last thing you say is, it was placed there for a reason, and fuck off. That's not right.
Then we had a break.
We did have a break.
We had some tasty cakes.
They were tasty cakes. The only time we had tasty cakes.
Nice little cakes.
Good. You push in line for the cakes, Marsh? Did you?
I didn't push in line for the cakes. Then we had Dave come back.
He popped back. He'd forgot to say something.
So specifically, even though we were running over by more than 2 hours at this point, Dave came back to say the speed of the moon when it orbits, if you track the speed of the moon, okay, at times it's quicker, at times it's slower, because that's what he's trying to figure out, when is it quicker and slower. And in an elliptical world, that makes sense, because as it's going across the ellipsis, you're going to see it moving quicker than if it's coming towards you, where you're not going to really see that. So that makes sense. But he says if you track the speed of the moon, it starts making a zigzag pattern in its speed. It gets faster,
and it peaks, and then it
and
drops,
then slower, and faster. And so, in fact, I drew that.
Right. Okay.
Right there, which he said that resembles a heartbeat.
It looked like an ECG trace.
I mean, it doesn't.
No, it wasn't much. I mean, there was no flat or any bits in it.
It was slightly different to how Marsh has drawn it, but not by much.
Yeah, so he said because it resembles a heartbeat, that must mean something. That's significant. That's electric. That's electric universe stuff. It's like, no, that's just what happens if you track the speed of something that is rotating, like that is spinning, that is in an elliptical orbit. That's just that's a speed thing from a fixed point. But
then he popped off again.
And the thing is, so bear in mind, obviously, 2 hours, running more than 2 hours over, the important thing to do right now for the MC is to open the floor up to open mic.
again, we had open mic Friday. Now we're back to more open mic.
Gary got over and said, "Oh, this is going so well. I've got to be said, this is going so well." Does anyone? I mean, I know we're running over, but does anyone have any feedback on this? Anyone want to share any feedback right now?
Right, that's the time to do it.
Part of the reason he'd done that is because he'd got the next speaker ready to speak, and then had introduced Dave Marsh to come back and talk about the bit that he'd remembered. So the speaker had wandered off, gone to get coffee, chat in the other room, something or other. So then when he came to introduce the next speaker, he wasn't here. He hadn't thought to go and get him as Dave was finishing up to make sure he was ready. He just kind of left him wondering. So he was like, well, my speaker's not here, so I'm going to start chatting to the audience while somebody else goes off and finds him.
But
the speaker comes back, is stood right next to him. He's like, okay, so we're going to ask this person what they think now, and this person what they think now, and this person what they think now.
I thought, I mean, maybe I've misremembered this, I thought the next speaker was there at the end of Div, but then Gary got up to sort of say, oh, isn't this going so well? Can I have some feedback? And that's when the other speaker wandered off.
He was there at the beginning of Dave and then not at the end of Dave.
Absolute
But speakers wandered off on multiple occasions. The first time Iru came on to talk, he was about ready to talk and then something happened.
Then he wandered off because he couldn't get the audio playing from his laptop. So we had about half an hour of not being able to get the audio playing from his laptop.
Right.
And
so
the tech team being just completely unwilling to do anything.
So Iru wandered off and then
he started his talk 6 times.
He did.
Because he went to it and he said, no, I think we've got to fix for the tech. We've got to fix for the audio. So they came back and fixed it and it didn't work. We went, okay, it's fine, we'll start. They came back, we've got to fix the audio. And they kept doing that. So in the end he said, right, this is the 6th time we'll start. If we have another one, I'm going to call security. Which, to be fair, I was like, oh, this guy seems good before he got into it. And he said, this guy seems good. He's no. So then we had Martin.
Martin Liedtke.
So my notes on Martin are diffuse.
He was interesting. He was very Welsh.
He was very Welsh.
Okay.
He also
was very friendly with the audience. We'd seen him chatting around. People were coming up to him saying, oh, I love your YouTube channel. I looked on his YouTube channel, he's got about 5,000 subscribers, but everybody in the room knew him, wanted to talk to him. It was kind of interesting chatting to him.
And I think that's true. But I also think he very much enjoyed that. So on his way up to the stage was like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Oh, hiya, Nora, I didn't see you there. And just saying hello to people on the way up. And literally, as he's doing his talk, at the start of his talk, he's saying, oh, and there's someone to the back, hiya, you all right? How's it going? And like, oh, God, he was very much playing the kind of the big all I am kind of thing, which is a bit irritating.
His entire talk was kind of filled with little... It's like he'd written a load of little phrases that he wanted to get in and that he just kind of dropped in randomly. So he started it with, you're all very loudly and charismatically and a big character. You're all trapped in a satanic control system.
Yeah.
NASA are lying, end of. We need to define reality. All cultures know that the world is flat.
Yeah, all cultures, yeah.
Okay.
He referred to Brian Cockless Cox.
Yeah, he did.
Who is a social engineering actor.
Well, I've got that, but I'm sure there was bits before that. He was saying the globalist model is satanic, put in place by Satan to lead people down a blind alley into oblivion and lead them away from the Creator. So it's another Bible one then. Okay. Good. He said, you're all in the Matrix. We are all in the Matrix. I could give you proof of that, but it'd be too traumatic for you.
Okay.
I think it was around here or a little bit later. He then started saying, Oggy, 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 oi, 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 and doing a call and response with the audience, going, Oggy, oi. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. Then he came to Brian Cox's Cox. He said, Brian Cox, he flies on planes all the time, but when he goes on Graham Norton, he doesn't say, I've been on a jet and I saw the curvature of the horizon. He doesn't even mention that. Why is that? That's because he's a social engineering actor. He doesn't even have a PhD. Doesn't have a PhD at all. Doesn't have a FUD, he called it. Doesn't have a PhD at all.
A lot of people referred to Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, any physicist.
Yes.
Any physicist with any kind of
media profile
as social engineering actors.
Yeah.
This came up time and time and time again. They're all actors.
Yep. One of his arguments was, I'm telling you, water's flat. Move on.
Because the sea is flat because he had an alternative. He goes by Flat Earth British.
Yes.
He had an alternative education. His dad was a merchant navy, was in the merchant navy. So he grew up on his dad's boat. And the sea is flat.
Yep. I can tell you I've seen it all. Believe me, trust me, the sea is flat. Earlier, be your own authority. Trust me, the water's flat.
He was just showing photos, like the whole way through, he was just kind of flicking through photos that he put together in a folder and was kind of flicking through the photos rather than a proper PowerPoint presentation. And one of the first photos he showed was from the National Space Centre. He said they'd gone for a day out to the National Space Centre. And he showed a photo of a protective suit for the vacuum of space, which is thin and therefore not safe.
He said, the walls for that are way too thin to survive in a vacuum. Look at that. There's no way that would survive in a vacuum.
So space is a lie.
So space is a lie. Because I saw the suit. It looked. I saw the suit in a glass case. It looked too thin to survive in a vacuum.
Once you're flat, you can never go back, guys.
Once you're flat, you can never go back. Never go back.
There's no evidence of satellites.
Yeah, no evidence of satellite. Doesn't believe in satellites. There's no evidence for them at all. Although he was using a mobile. Not a problem.
Also,
not a problem.
I've literally seen a satellite.
Yeah.
So
well, you haven't. We'll come to that.
I have.
Some of them are holograms. Some of them are projections.
He said the representation of the past is a lie.
Yes.
In the past, everything was much happier. It was safer. They're lying about how bad sanitation was. Actually, it was very, very good, happier, safer.
Yeah, we had better technology. We had all the knowledge. We had all the success. That was a past back then. We had all that stuff.
We're actually going backwards.
Yeah. Now everything is toxic.
Everything is toxic. Then he showed a diagram of the ancient Hebrew concept of the universe, with the firmament. So you've got flat land, atmosphere, oceans below the flat land, and water above the flat land, above the atmosphere in an arc.
Yeah, the water's above and the water's below, etc. Yeah,
I think what he said was we're in an enclosed system. There might be a hole in the firmament, which is a dome. There is water above the firmament. That's in the Old Testament. There may even be sky people there.
Yeah.
So it's good.
There's been no news on the North Pole recently.
Yeah, no news. So God,
have you noticed?
So God knows what's happening there. Yeah, that's not been in the news lately, has it? If it exists, what's happening there? They're not talking about what's at the North Pole. Everyone's talking about Antarctica and stuff. No one's talking about the North Pole. I think what's going on at the North Pole, that's interesting.
But that's nonsense.
I mean, there is news about the North Pole because we keep talking about the ice caps melting because they're melting. But of course, climate change isn't real, so that's not true.
The electric universe theory works best on a flat Earth. Therefore, the Earth is flat.
Yes. Previous to that, so if you look at one of the reasons we know the world is flat, right? Look at maps. All these different maps. You see all the different maps. They all disagree on the size of the continents.
But that's to do with the Mercator projection and the Peters projection and all that sort of stuff.
No, it means they're not correct.
I mean, they're literally not correct. The flat maps are not correct. That's true, because they can't be, because the Earth is a globe, so you have to compromise to make it flat.
Then you've got Antarctica. Yeah, Antarctica's not real. When you see someone go to Antarctica, they're not in Antarctica. They're probably just on an island somewhere with some penguins.
Like Antarctica.
Like Antarctica. So yeah, we've got that. All we need, guys, is organic farming and small agrarian societies. That's all we need. Not sure why.
Yeah, electric universe theory works best on a flat Earth.
Because everything's energy.
Because everything's energy. Rivers, they look like electric things.
Yeah.
You're born enlightened, then they get you off your mother and into the indoctrination camp.
Which is very similar to the sausage machine. Sausage factory.
He basically thinks that peace and love and having enough resources in the world is a choice.
Yeah.
We will all have enough to survive.
Okay, so if we just choose to be enough food to go around, there just suddenly will be.
He was all peace and love, except if you believed in the round earth, in which case he got very viciously vitriolic very quickly.
Think good intent inside and we'll change reality. Birthdays are designed to drive you forwards into old age and death.
Yeah, because getting old is fake.
You don't have to get old.
Guys, you don't have to get old. It only happens because of birthdays. They give you a number, right, which is birthdays, which are fake. They give you a number. People say, oh, you're 50 now, so you should probably look 50. And then you start looking 50. You don't have to grow old.
Okay.
What's
this got to do with a flat Earth?
We're only
What's any of this got to do with flat Earth?
We're only 1,000 years since Noah's flood.
Yes, it's only been 1,000 years since Noah's flood.
Not the 4,000 years that other religious people believe.
Okay. Do you know why that was? Do you remember why that was?
Because we're not, history isn't as old as we think it is.
But the reason why, his proof, is if you look at medieval drawings of biblical times, all the archaeology is medieval. So it can't have been that long ago. It can't have been that long before medieval, because they were using medieval archaeology in biblical times, according to drawings done by medieval people with their basic medieval grasp on archaeology. But no,
Roman artifacts, he's done some archaeology. Roman artifacts aren't that old.
They're not that old.
Because he's looked at them.
He's had a look.
Yeah, a little look, did he? Yeah.
Showed a picture of what would happen if the Earth was moving. We have to hold on tight, and it was a globe, Earth, and there was people holding on the back like, oh, it's gone too fast. I'm falling off. So there's proof for you.
NASA in Hebrew means to deceive.
I checked this. It doesn't. Well, I checked this with Hannah Rubin of Israel, of the live show confectionery fame, and quite nice person. And what she said, one inflection could mean carried, but that'd be a past tense and kind of anachronistic. Or in certain slangs of the word like NASA with a certain inflection, it could mean HIV positive but not sick, as in to carry the virus. Mm-hmm. The other way of pronouncing NASA, one inflection of it, would be more like Nasar, which means travelled by vehicle in the past tense. Both the forms are masculine and not feminine. Hebrew's very gendered.
Yes.
I looked this up on a video, and they were then arguing that it's not NASA that means to deceive, but like no shaw. So the S would be a sh, and the A would be or sound. So it would be no shaw. But apparently that's bollocks as well. So glad the theme of also, mistranslating things.
Why in Hebrew?
And why would it matter?
In Filipino, it means in.
Yeah, I saw that. If you put there, that's a bit nasty.
Google Translate. I saw that as well. Google Translate reckons it's Filipino and it means in.
Yeah. I only imagine either Hebrew just randomly because he saw that somewhere, or Hebrew because the video that he took that from had a bit of an anti-Semitic thing going on, because that has been a little bit of an undercurrent that will become a current at times.
Yeah. The universe is accelerating, but momentum is supposed to slow down, so liars.
Yeah, or physics you don't understand, physics we don't understand. Isn't that a fun question to find out? No, it just means not true.
Here I've just written globe programming. I think he must have said it as part of something.
He said, I can't imagine how the universe, this might have come from nothing. I can't imagine how the universe could have come from nothing.
I'm sure he can't.
Therefore it didn't, and the world's flat.
Okay.
Then he showed a poster from a 1950s film called This Island Earth, where in the background we have the globe from a distance, the blue dot, the globe with continents, planets, and lots and lots of water, and said, but how could we possibly have had the blue dot when we hadn't seen the blue dot in the 50s?
Yeah,
we hadn't been in space.
We're not meant to have been in space by then.
So it's a conspiracy.
So how do we know that the world was round and had both water and land?
Well, we could maybe think
and had as much water as it had.
Yeah. How would we possibly know that we're on a round world with water and land?
Oh, because there's water and there's land.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the seaside. I don't need to go to space to tell you there's water and land. I can get them both there.
The satanic overtones?
There were satanic overtones.
He showed a piece of art from the 1600s with Satan sat on a globe.
Oh, yeah.
With humans on a flat plane away from the globe, in chains and trying to get away.
Yep.
Therefore, Satan.
This is your globe programming. The globe programming was all the times throughout culture and history. Mm-hmm. We've been told there's a globe. This is the thing that suffuses in. He showed loads of examples of photos or pictures, drawings of globes in different scenarios, including the one with Satan riding the globe like a bull with people in chains on the ground.
And then he went into some moon landing.
Well, before the moon landing stuff, he did say that if you look at cliffs, they look like they've been mined. So they must have been mined. So where's all the stuff gone that they mined from it? Probably past Antarctica. So the stuff that's past Antarctica, that's why they put that stuff.
Pop it all over there. That's fine.
You look at the Earth's speed, like all the satanic stuff. 666, guys. 666 is everywhere. Look at the Earth's speed. The spin of the Earth is 666. The angle of the Earth is 666. The rotation of the Earth around the Sun is 666.
I don't think it is.
Right. So the spin of the Earth is around 67,000 miles per hour.
Right.
So if you want to go, it's around 67,000. So what's around 67,000? Well, 66,600 is around 67,000. Okay. So tick. The angle of the Earth is 23.4 degrees, which, to be fair, is 90 degrees minus 66.6. But why are you starting with the 90 degrees? It's fine if you subtract it from 90. But why would you subtract it from 90? That would make no sense. Then he's talking about the Earth. Look at the size. So this is going to moon landing stuff then, yeah. So one of the things he was saying about the Earth, the size, if you look at the photo on the moon of the Earth, it's tiny. But we're meant to believe the Earth's massive compared to the moon. So it really should be like this. He shows a picture of the moon, and the Earth fills the whole thing, which is his way of saying, I don't understand scale or distance.
It's a real, those cows are small, the ones out there are far away.
It really is.
That quote came into my head so many times throughout this weekend. So many times. Because they just don't understand perspective.
Yeah, they don't understand perspective, they don't understand distance, they don't understand scale. Later on, someone was talking about the eclipse and said, well, for the sun, bigger than the moon, to fill the size of the moon. Well, the moon's small compared to the sun. How can the sun and the moon be the same size? And while he was talking, I debunked him by holding my little finger in front of my eye and obscuring him completely. Yeah.
Also on the moon landing fake stuff, that he pointed out that the dust underneath the landing feet things wasn't dispersed by the landing, therefore we didn't land on the moon.
It didn't disperse in the moon's atmosphere. It didn't float on the air that's on the Earth into a different area. Buzz Aldrin, people might think he's been to space. He knows space is fake because we know. Look at this video, right? When Trump, this picture, when Trump said he'd go to the moon, when we go to Mars, Trump said we'd go to Mars. Buzz Aldrin rolled his eyes. He was behind him. He rolled his eyes. That's because Buzz Aldrin knows that space is fake, not because Buzz Aldrin knows that Trump's an idiot.
Also on Buzz Aldrin, it's important that he was selected. He said in an interview he was selected for the Apollo program because he was such an experienced scuba diver.
Okay.
So it must be fake.
Because why would they send scuba divers into space? It was done underwater, guys. Think about it. It was done underwater.
I mean, nobody had been to space yet, so we didn't really have anybody who was
particularly
an expert in going into space.
Also, pretty sure Buzz Aldrin had other qualifications. But if it comes to, I'm a pilot and an expert scuba diver, and another person over here is, I'm a pilot and I've never used an air mask in my life, that might be better. And also, he might have been slightly joking about it. Oh, yeah, you'd think I'm all disqualified. It was mainly for the scuba diving, to be honest. There's loads of reasons why I might say that.
He talked about an air balloon in the 1930s which had gone up in 10... So he didn't mention this. I've looked it up since. There's a guy, Pickard, who went in an air balloon in the 1930s 10 miles up. And he stated in a 1931 Popular Science magazine that the Earth seemed a flat disk with an upturned edge. Therefore, the Earth is flat.
Yep.
But also, there was a photo of Pickard and lots of other famous physicists, including Einstein, all together in the same room. Therefore, social engineering.
Okay,
that's
obviously
that's how they agreed to fake it. Because why else would prominent experts in physics gather together at any point? Why would physicists get together to talk? The only reason is if they're faking the world rather than having some sort of physics convention.
Yeah,
equally, you could argue the same about the flat Earth. Take a photo of that audience and say, "Well, look, all these people believe in the flat Earth. Isn't it a coincidence they're all in the same place? It must have been a plot."
Yeah.
Amazing.
Rockets don't work in a vacuum.
Rockets can't work in a vacuum because there's no air to push, although you can get momentum and the conservation of momentum type stuff going on, equal opposite reaction stuff.
Yeah.
He showed loads and loads of images of the Earth from space and said, isn't it interesting how the weather never changes? There's always this particular line of clouds. The weather never changes in any of these images. So I had a look at lots of images of the Earth from space.
Yeah.
It changes all the time.
Completely.
But not in the images he picked.
Yeah.
But also, yes, you do have weather systems recurring in the same geographic locations repeatedly over time because that's how the world works. That's how weather works. We have repeated. You go to the Amazon, it rains every night. We know why it rains every night because it's so hot that all the humidity in the air rises into the clouds, and then when it cools down at night, it rains.
Yes,
that's why it's called the rainforest.
Don't get into hot air rising. That's going to be touching on next week's show on part 2 of this. But also what was great is he showed all these photos of all these pictures of the Earth with the same weather pattern. Oh, look, they're all the weather. The clouds are always in the same place, aren't they? Look at all these pictures, clouds in the same place. Yeah. And look at this other fake photo of the Earth, clouds in a different place. Never mentioned that. And here's another photo of the Earth that they'll tell you, and here's the reason it's fake. But the clouds are in a different place, so stick to one fucking lane. If they're faking it, they'd keep it consistent.
Importantly, NASA wants you to think that you're meaningless. This is why we have a universe and globe planet, and we're insignificant and meaningless in the tiny part of our galaxy. But it's not true. The Creator is here now, and we are important.
Yep, he did say that. On the whistle, the thing that annoyed me the most of the whistle-stop tour of NASA things was when he was shown photos of the moon landing or the lunar module.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
And he says, if you look here, look at this. That's gaffer tape. Look at that line of tape there. It's barely even sticking down. You think you can get to space with gaffer tape? Look at this. You see this circular thing here?
Yeah.
Look at that. That's a car stereo. That's a speaker from a car stereo. Look at it. It's circular. It's black in the middle. And if you look around it, there's 6 dots, but only 3 of them have got screws in them. They didn't even bother putting all the screws into the car stereo on this picture from 1969's lunar landing that I verified as a car stereo because... Look at it. Look at this other bit of the lunar landing. See that brown bit of surface? Yeah. That's wood. That's just plywood. How light is plywood? Why are they making it out of plywood? Is that going to survive space? Plywood. Look at it. I know it's plywood because look at it.
Look at it.
Look at it in this photo. That's definitely plywood because Look at it. Yeah, exactly. So all this stuff of gaffer tape and literally loads of these. I would say he went through a dozen of these. And the audience lapping it up. Everyone going, ha ha, literally bursting with laughter. Like, look, he's right, it's gaffer tape.
By a long way, this guy's talk was the favourite talk by the audience of the entire weekend.
Really?
They loved his talk.
And by a long way, his was the talk that made the least effort to present evidence or scrutinise it.
Yeah.
It was, look at this picture, isn't it ridiculous? Look at this picture, they're ridiculous because I say so. Not one bit of it did he say, so I looked into this, and this circular thing here could only be a cast area, because if you look at the ratios here, look at this, it's a particular model, I looked at all of this. It was none of that. It wasn't, what else could it be, and how can I dismiss it? So no, it's a circular thing. It's a cast area. It can't be a cast area, therefore they're idiots.
It was am I right? The whole way through, am I right, guys? It was preaching to the choir, and
the audience all absolutely loved it. So that's him. Next up, Sean.
I've got one more thing on Martin. So he mentioned the sonoluminescence again. He said stars are sonoluminescence.
Sure.
But then he talked about the eclipse, which he said couldn't have possibly happened because the moon doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But then he said about the eclipse that something happened, things changed. I felt funny that day. The blinking sun never happened before then, but it does now. Something weird went on when the eclipse happened.
That's
when
right.
the single only ever one eclipse that's ever happened.
Right, except for that
something
other one,
changed.
but, you know.
So it was clearly somebody doing something. And also chemtrails. They're trying to stop the sun coming through.
Yeah.
And poison children with chemicals.
What's he on about the blinking sun?
It never blinked before.
I'm not sure what he means by the blinking sun 100%, but I think when he's talking about the eclipse, he means specifically the total eclipse that there was that time in the UK.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the time when they talk about eclipses, they talk about, it's like, well, you see a lot of the sun blocked out, but you see a line of sun around the edge, and that's why we can't have an eclipse. That's an eclipse, that's impressive, that's not impressive. But what they mean is because we don't get many total solar eclipses in the UK. We got had
but
it that
even with the total eclipse, you get the ring of fire. You do
exactly.
get the ring of sun through it. But
I don't know. But so saying that sun never blinked before means that the sun blinks now, and I've no idea what he's talking about.
No idea. But we're on to the next speaker.
Something important has changed, and it's
okay.
evil. But hope is the anchor for us all. So
hope is the anchor for us all.
And you can tell that because of all the pubs called to Hope and Anchor.
So last speaker of Saturday before the evening, which we will save for another show because the evening deserves its own show. Sure. It deserves its own show. Last speaker was Sean
Connors, who was more open to ideas because of his dyslexia.
Yes, we got that. Yeah,
he came into the community in 1999, so he's
been around the longest.
Flat earther.
Yeah.
And then moved into finance.
So he said money's all imaginary. It's all the work of the Rothschilds, Soros, JP Morgan, this name.
Of course it is,
they
yes.
own all but 7 national banks.
Yeah, at this point I messaged the chap at the Times and said, little game to play. What's the one thing in common about all those names? Hashtag Star of David kind of thing. Yeah, little Star of David emoji.
But they own all but 7 national banks, and isn't it interesting that the 7 that they didn't own were countries that they then attacked after 9/11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hence 9/11.
Yeah, which is a point that's been debunked. That's not true. There's only 3 of them left, and one of them's North Korea.
Left, yeah.
And that's not true. It actually echoed something that I think David Icke was saying about cashless societies, and how North Korea is one of the few. Or maybe it's a woman that we talked to who said North Korea is one of the few cashless societies, one that doesn't have a cashless society.
All of them merge into one, don't they?
Then we started talking about music today. Kids today, they're fed rubbish.
We've got the generation
rubbish.
of the most depressed and suicidal under 25-year-olds, millennial bashing.
Yeah.
For the rest of his talk, he was millennial bashing.
Music today is rubbish. It's not like the music I grew up with. These kids are being fed rubbish.
Used to be used to fight the system. Keanu Reeves said, the truth is you don't struggle with depression, you struggle with the reality you live in.
Yeah.
And the brain is shrinking.
The brain is shrinking.
Which
Scientists don't know why.
Which he seems to be using to say that millennials are shit. But I looked this one up because I was like, that's got to be something provable. If you think that the brain is shrinking, the brain is shrinking. In the past 10 to 15,000 years, the average size of the human brain has shrunk by 3 or 4%.
No, but the reason it's shrinking is because the education kids get today isn't as good as the education when he was at school. Because he said, you get fed into debt. It's forced into debt. We're trying to get as more kids as possible into university, into debt, because the whole system works on debt, which is why they allow them to do worthless degrees like media studies or art. That's why they allow them to do, because they need them to do that, because art is rubbish.
Music and art was used to fight the system, and it's shit that it's all getting shit again now.
It's all shit again now. Art today is rubbish. It's £1 million for something anyone could do. Isn't that ridiculous? My kids could do that. £1 million for that. Ridiculous.
But you're not allowed to do an art degree.
No, because the kids, and you've got to feel for these poor kids.
All surgeons and scientists and doctors are just using left brain thinking, and that's good. But they should also be using more of the creative side of their brain. And
but don't learn art.
Don't do an art degree.
Don't do art degree.
Because that's...
Don't learn art. But the thing is, kids, they have this. They're forced into having this bad education. They're forced into debt. They come out of school, and you've got to feel for these kids because they've got a terrible education. They're unemployable. That's why that's why there's so many people unemployed. Why they can't get into jobs, because these kids have a terrible education. I'm sat there thinking, kids today have a terrible education. Says a middle-aged man who believes the Earth is flat. That is where we are. That is where we ended Saturday's series of talks. We've got a couple of notes on Sunday.
Not so many. It was a much shorter day Sunday. There were a lot fewer speakers Sunday.
Sure.
We did have Iru come back.
We did.
I don't have any notes on Iru's second.
I do, because he didn't come back first. So
we'll come back to him then.
We're only going to cover one more talk and a bit of Iru, because there was the Sunday afternoon. We're going to hold over from the show, because that, again, deserves plenty of space to breathe. So, first up was Dave Murphy.
We did have Dave Murphy. Allegedly Dave, he goes by.
Now, Dave was a bit of a celebrity as well. Before his talk, we saw him walking around the audience quite a lot. He even said to somebody, it's weird, people treat me like a bit of a celebrity here. And then that person walked away, and he sort of just stood there by himself for a while, which was quite nice.
A lot of people reference his talk during their talks or during their story of how they came to Flat Earth. There's a particular video that he seems to be famous for in this sphere.
Yeah. But before his talk, we were looking forward to Dave's talk, because he goes by Allegedly Dave. And
we'd suspected he might be a Freeman. He did have a book. I'd spotted his book on one of the merch tables. The merch tables were interesting. They had like posters.
Oh, I bought a beautiful poster.
In fact, we got you a present, Mike.
Oh, yes, we did.
One of the merch tables. I'm going to very quickly get it out of my bag.
We got you a key ring.
It's a key ring.
It is a key ring, and it says Flat Earth, and
it's a spirit level.
And it's a lot.
Because look, if you put it on the floor, you can prove that the Earth's flat.
I'll just pop it there, and the Earth is flat.
And the reason it's a spirit level is because water always finds its level.
Yes.
That's the mantra of flat earthers. Water can't bend over a curvature.
And then we've got the kind of United Nations version of the map of the Earth on the top there, with everything kind of radiating out from the middle.
Water can't bend over a surface. You put water in a bath, it's flat. You put water in a glass, it's flat. You put a massive body of water into somewhere, it'll stay flat unless there's some sort of like external force acting on it to make it curve. But even then, if it was curving, it would only be like sticking to a curved surface if there was something inside that curved surface that was drawing the water to it, and nothing like that could possibly exist.
Yeah, so also on the merch tables, as well as key rings and posters and magnets and little wooden cutouts that say the Earth is flat, get over it, and
loads of meme stickers. Christ, they love memes. They love memes. I fucking hate memes. I hate anything where people's just taking a picture and put a stupid fucking sentence over it in the same kind of cutout letters and thought that's creative. Fuck off.
They also had Allegedly Dave's book, which is called The Human Body, the Owner's Workshop Manual. I looked on his website to find a few more details, and his view is that your body is an infinitely intelligent community of 50 trillion cells.
Sure.
37.2. That is capable of completely renewing itself every 7 years. It knows how to cure itself of every so-called disease and affliction that the medical community can make up, as long as we step out of our own way and allow it to do so. The important thing to know about healing your body is that there is only one thing on earth that can heal the human body. It is not a pharmaceutical drug, nor is it a potion, a mineral, a herb, a tincture of powdered reindeer antler, reindeer spelled R-A-I-N-D-E, lizard's beard, or eye of newt. It is and can only ever be the human body itself.
And he has particular parts of the human body that he likes to use a lot of.
He also says, if you or anybody else you know could use some assistance or help dealing with any health issue, whether it is cancer, AIDS, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, depression, Alzheimer's, asthma, eczema, psoriasis, arthritis, high blood pressure, overweight, or any of the myriad of diseases and maladies that the medical profession fails, or more accurately, downright refuses to address, then please contact me. He claims that he can help.
Okay.
He did also mention to the one of the journalists, and he, I think, had in his book, urine therapy.
He did.
And one of the things he said about urine therapy to a journalist, I believe, and I've not seen the transcript of this or anything, is that he always drinks his own urine.
Okay.
He likes to drink his own urine. And also, he doesn't use, when he washes, he doesn't use shower gel. He uses piss.
Of course he does.
Because urine's sterile, which is not. But it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
So he apparently washes in his own piss.
Nice.
Now, I didn't notice that. But I also specifically didn't try. I didn't go out of my way to get close enough to notice that, and I didn't touch any of the food that his hands had been near, just in case.
Luckily, he was so busy chatting and being a celebrity that he didn't get lunch until a long time after everybody had finished eating.
Yeah, he was being a celebrity, shaking a lot of hands, hugging a lot of his sort of fans, little kiss on the cheek, standard celebrity kind of stuff.
But what you also see from his website is that he is a freeman of the land. He is a 9/11 denier. Yeah. He again, every conspiracy theory going pretty much.
Again, the overlap there between
lives
this
off-grid.
conspiracy and all the other
he does live
kind of conspiracies is...
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff about urine therapy, I don't think is going to make it into any of the papers because they don't want to be accused of yellow journalism.
I see what you've done there. I see what you've done there.
So, Dave's talk.
His talk was debunking the debunkers.
Because he likes to do that rather than show proofs of the flat earth that we've all seen. Because everyone there's obviously come around. But it's always interesting because it's a bit like, I guess, at a skeptic conference saying, well, I'm not going to get up and tell you the basic tenets of skepticism because you're all here for a reason kind of thing, which is kind of interesting, I think.
He said that our education system has failed. It's failed to indoctrinate us.
Yeah, that's why people like him can see through it. And he said at one point that this talk, or some of his flat earth stuff, was a culmination of 6 months of research.
6 months, blimey! How long did your PhD take, Alice?
4.5 years.
Okay,
but 6 months.
6 months.
Okay, good.
And then he went on a Macedonian TV show.
He did.
He was flying out there, and he thought, it's just going to be some YouTube thing, nothing too big. And then he found out it was going to be on national TV on Macedonia.
Okay.
In Macedonia. And that's the video that lots of people get into flat Earth from. Loads of people cite that as the reason they believe the world is flat.
Okay.
So on the plane on the way over, he scribbled out 12 questions, which he then put to the guy on Macedonian TV, and those became questions to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who went on to take on the challenge of answering those questions.
Okay. Yep.
So something he said. So one of the things he said was about Lake Baikal in Russia. It's 395 miles long.
It freezes over every year.
Freezes completely over every year, which means, given the amount of curvature of the Earth, it should be 5 miles difference in the middle.
There should be a hump of 5 miles high.
Okay.
And there should be a distorted reflection when it freezes because it's flat.
Because if it's flat, it should be a perfect mirror. If there's any amount of hump in the middle, it should be distorted. Now, I haven't checked the 5 miles figure. I don't know whether he said 395, how much angle is there in 395? Oh, it's 5, so it shouldn't be a hump of 5. It should either be a hump of 2, it should be a hump of 2.5. But either way, let's accept the hump of 5. That's a 1 in 79 ratio. I don't know if you had a 40 centimetre mirror, you'd notice if there was a 5 millimetre curvature to it.
No, I don't think you would.
I don't think that would be an appreciable amount to even do that. Even if the 5 miles thing is long. The 5 miles seems a lot, and that's the reason that they all get very surprised.
But it's over the entire surface of
miles.
Yes.
I mean, what's the length of the UK? 400 miles isn't going to be far off it, I don't think.
I don't know. I haven't a clue.
I mean, it was 100 miles.
I'm not a geographer.
Yeah, but it was 100 miles to Birmingham from Liverpool. So even if the UK is 500 miles or 600 miles or something, 400 miles is a decent chunk of the UK.
Yeah.
Would you notice a 5 mile undulation in that? I'm not 100% sure you would.
They love the Nikon P900 camera.
Yeah, to a point where that's...
mention the P900 constantly.
Yeah, it's like a throwaway thing. It's like a gag to them almost. Like, oh yeah, like even a P900's not going to get you that. Come on, guys. Am I right?
Because it's got a particularly good zoom for a camera, I think.
Well, you can get a massive zoom lens on it. It's not the zoom, but you can attach a massive zoom to it, which I read was something like 40 times. The maximum zoom you can get is 40 times the strength of the zoom lenses they typically use in sports photography. Okay. When you see someone sat at the side of a football pitch so they can get a good close-up of someone at the halfway line or close on the football pitch. That's because that's going to be like 200 metres or 150 metres away. So this is 40 times stronger than a thing you can get to get good detail of something 150 meters away. So just imagine how far you could see with something 40 times stronger than something I can see close up at 150 meters.
So they use it to zoom in on the horizon on the sea.
Yes.
And as they zoom in and in and in, a boat appears.
Yeah.
A boat comes into view that they couldn't see before.
You look at the horizon with your naked eye, you can't see anything because you see a boat.
Because it must be on the other side of the horizon.
Yeah, you see a boat disappearing. Eventually, it'll go off beneath the horizon.
Yes.
But if you get a camera, even if it's gone off beneath the horizon, if you get a good enough lens and zoom in, that boat comes right back into view because there isn't a curvature; it's just distance.
Okay.
Also,
I don't think that's right, though, is it?
With a strong enough lens, with a strong enough zoom, you could see all the way from America to Africa.
No, you couldn't, though.
You could, because strong enough. The only reason you couldn't is atmospheric pressure, atmospheric effects in the middle. Eventually, would
was it
start.
Allegedly, Dave, who talked about? I don't think I've got it written down, but somebody talked about some kind of.
No, that was Iru. All about the gravitational, about atmospheric lensing and stuff. I think it might be in his next talk. Yeah, it was in his next talk, Iru, yeah.
Oh, I didn't make any notes.
I made very few. I was so bored by Iru at that point. Like, Jesus Christ, nothing you're saying is connected to anything else you're saying, and yet you're still talking.
He did show a meme that people had used to prove that the Earth might not look flat might not look curved from the perspective of a human standing on the Earth. There's a meme where somebody's taken what they claim to be the perspective of an ant on a basketball.
Well, this is Neil deGrasse Tyson answering one of his questions, said, well, the curvature of the Earth to a man is the equivalent of the curvature of a basketball to an ant stood on that basketball from the basketball's perspective, from the ant's perspective.
So someone's taken a photograph from an ant's perspective of a basketball and proven that you can see the curve. It's really, really obvious.
Yes. Yeah, and even Dave said, look, you want to know where the curve is, Neil? It's right here. Look at it, Neil, there. It's the curve that goes underneath his ant, you can see right here.
Never mind the fact that they've taken this photo with a camera that isn't ant-sized.
Yeah.
Not of the ant's perspective, because you can see the ant. You can see the full ant in the middle of the ball.
So, it's kind of a thing of, it's down where an ant would be standing on a basketball, but it's not the size of an ant compared to a basketball because it's a fucking human-sized camera.
And I'm fairly sure that ratio is wrong.
Well, I worked it out. I was scribbling the numbers as well. So let's say an ant is about 0.5 centimetre in length, 5 millimetres.
Okay.
A basketball, 75 centimetres, roughly in diameter.
Okay.
So that's 5 to 750 millimetres. That's a 1 to 150 ratio, is what I've worked out there. Let's say that a man is 2 meters tall, which he isn't, but let's give him 2 meters, give him a bit more.
Okay.
The diameter of the Earth is about 6,353,000 meters.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's a 1 to 3,176,500 ratio.
That's quite a difference.
For a man to be the equivalent of an ant on a basketball in terms of ratio, he'd need to be 42,353 meters tall, or 5 times the size of Everest.
Good.
For that. So,
good.
But in fairness, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson's fault to a degree.
Yeah.
Because when he's communicating, he said, and he's just thrown out, like an ant on a basketball as just a random thing.
Yeah.
It'd be way more like an ant on a hot air balloon or even bigger than that, I'd imagine. But yeah, that's just
But this is a thing that science communicators do, and this is a thing that Dave Murphy kept picking up on. So he used this example with Neil deGrasse Tyson making a simplification for the sake of science communication at that point, and then gets locked down on the exact wording that is used. He also did that later when he'd been watching a video of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about Eratosthenes and how he discovered that the world was curved with the wells and
Well, there's two. There was one version in Carl Sagan's Cosmos, which was with the sticks. There's a later version that Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about, which is wells. So he had 2 wells, and you could see the sun at the bottom of one, but not the bottom of the other at the same time. Yeah.
And so he uses Neil deGrasse Tyson says that the sun shines parallel light, and Dave Murphy gets very het up on this single parallel word and like, well, but the sun can't possibly be parallel because look, it's coming from all of these places. Like, yeah, but it just needs to be a bit of parallel light to prove the point. He's not saying that all sunlight to the Earth is parallel.
Yeah. Also, the sun's massive compared to the Earth. So yes, it's shooting in all different directions, but if it's going one beam, then the Earth's caught in that beam for sure.
Yeah. So he's getting like very, very het up on that one specific comment that he's made where he's simplified a point to make a point. And then he looks at his three-well diagram. So he talks about the two-well diagram that Eratosthenes had, where you can see the sunlight down one well and you can't see the sunlight down a well further across the land. And he said that actually when you think about it, that doesn't really disprove the flat Earth model. It could be possible. There's a way it could be possible in a flat Earth model. But if we had three, and then throws up on the YouTube video, there's an image of three wells side by side, but slightly separated apart.
A bit like this one that I'm showing you now, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
A cartoon, a schematic, a drawing somebody's done for a YouTube video.
Yes.
So
this is Dave's gotcha.
Dave then says, well, okay, so let's, if we've got a round Earth, if we draw the lines from these three wells, they should intersect at exactly the same point. And the first two do. First two intersect at the same point. And then he draws a line from the third one and says, but it doesn't intersect in the same place.
It misses by a tiny amount.
It misses by a bit.
So he said, well, first of all, the thing that blows my mind...
Round.
And not just a bad diagram.
Yeah, he said, first of all, the thing that blows my mind, did you hear what he said? Eratosthenes didn't have a third well. He only had two wells. So this doesn't make sense. This whole thing doesn't work. All right, Dave, but there are other wells. There's more than two wells in history, but okay.
Because Eratosthenes didn't do that, the three-well experiment. It's still been done.
Yeah, and I was saying this to the chap that I was talking to at lunchtime. We talked to him a bit later in the day, and he was like, how do you feel about it all? I said, well, the thing that gets me is, like, you look at what Dave said there about that diagram. He could say, like, he threw the whole thing out based on this cartoon that was shown during a Neil deGrasse Tyson monologue.
Yes.
But because it doesn't line up, he throws it out. But what he should say is, okay, that's a shit diagram because it doesn't line up. But if we draw the diagram properly, does it work? Let's find out.
Yeah.
But instead, he doesn't do that. He just
throws it out entirely. And this seems to be this common thing, is that a lot of people in this flat Earth community will have a false assumption, a false representation of what the scientists are actually saying or what the science says it should be. They'll start a lot of it with according to their model and then make some false representation of what the science actually says and then say, and that can't be true, therefore gotcha. It's like, but that's a false representation of the science. That's completely misrepresenting what's happening.
Yeah, and I found myself constantly scribbling diagrams that fundamentally undermine the point they just made to explain why that isn't true. And I've just got absolutely loads of them on, just random piece of paper with just diagrams all over it, like Dave saying... if the moon's on the other side of the Earth to the sun, how can we see the moon? Because a moon, if it doesn't reflect, if it isn't shining, how do we see a crescent moon at all? And it's like, well, Dave, it's fine because like part of the moon's on the other side of the Earth, but part of it is in the sunlight, and the bit that the Earth's obscuring isn't. Yep. There's a quick diagram that explains it, Dave. It's fine. And so in the end, I started drawing a diagram, and what I'm involved. Drawing a circle of like, there's Dave Marsh, there is the point, and you can see he's orbiting it, but he misses it completely, unfortunately. Yeah.
NASA's debunked because the Russians had pencils.
Yeah, NASA spent millions making a pen that could draw in space.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's actually nonsense.
Yeah, it is. It is nonsense.
That's just not true.
You'd left at this point. You'd popped out for a little bit. So one of the things he said was like, okay, let's imagine for a second. He said helicopters disprove the...
No, I sat there. I just wasn't listening.
There was a bit that you did step out.
I wouldn't blame you because I don't know how you can sit through this.
So helicopters disprove that the Earth is moving, okay?
Right.
Because he said if you look at this picture of a helicopter hovering, he shows this video of a helicopter hovering.
Yes.
And first of all, what's brilliant is the helicopter is battering against the wind. So the helicopter is barely staying in the same place. Like, I wonder if there's something about being in a closed system that has a lot of stuff going on that means that wind does stuff, Dave. Well, that's got anything to do with it. Okay, no, but wind. So this helicopter. Whereas actually, if a helicopter was lifted off the ground at all and the Earth was moving, what we should see is a helicopter lifts up and goes, whoa, and flies over to the side.
Yeah.
But my point with the wind was like, well, the reason it's being battered by wind is because the wind is part of the same closed system. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why that kind of works.
Yeah,
and he said, okay,
is part of the system.
So let's move it away, he said, from a helicopter. Let's imagine it's a Harrier jump jet on the world. Let's say the world is spinning at 1,000 kilometres an hour. Uh-huh. The Harrier jump jet on the ground is spinning backwards is facing forward, is spinning backwards at 1,000 kilometres an hour on the ground. It lifts up, it's still spinning 1,000 kilometres an hour backwards because it's apparently with the Earth. Now let's say it starts flying forwards at 1,000 kilometres an hour. It now would be staying still while the Earth is going underneath 1,000 kilometres an hour. Okay, that's fine. Now let's say it starts flying north. What's going to happen? It's going to be hit on the side by 1,000 kilometres an hour winds. It's going to blow up instantly.
No, that's not how that works.
Why not, Mike?
Well, because the air is moving relative to the surface of the Earth.
Yes, Mike. It's a closed system.
The atmosphere is part of Earth.
Yeah. And he even said, like, it's like being on a train. If you throw a pebble out the window, the pebble suddenly shoots backwards. So, but not if you throw the pebble on the train, Dave.
Yeah.
Because the atmosphere in the train...
the air in the train is
moving
moving
the same speed.
To be fair, we later discovered that even some of the people in the audience understood that and thought that Dave was wrong on that point.
Yeah, but he was a cameraman, and I don't know how in he was.
Oh, was he a cameraman?
He was the cameraman.
But was he the cameraman that bought loads and loads
Later,
and loads
he bought loads of stuff. Yeah, he bought loads of stickers and stuff. But so he has to write inertia and stuff like that. The Harrier jump jet completely undermines his point. Then, this is why you're still out. He says about how satellites... They say you can see satellites, right? Well, we'll debunk that immediately. Mm-hmm. Satellites are all about the size of a car. Loads of them are the size of a car.
Yep.
Right? How are you possibly going to see something the size of a car from down here on Earth? It's just not possible to happen. You can't see something the size of a car.
You need your Nikon P900 for that.
He said, I think he said not even a P900 is going to get this the size of a car.
Okay.
And then he said, they say there's thousands of satellites, right? Here's a picture of the Earth. Here's thousands of satellites. Look at them swarming all around. You think we'd see loads of them, and we don't see them. Mm-hmm. We don't see them because you can't see them. It's like, well, on your diagram, you've got an Earth and you've got a satellite that is maybe, I would say, a 20th the diameter of that Earth.
Yes.
Which, like, your satellite is the size of fucking Scotland. If there were thousands of satellites the size of Scotland orbiting the Earth, we'd see them.
There's also quite famously one satellite we see a lot, which is the moon.
Yeah, no, well...
We can see that.
You can't... No, well, yeah, but the moon isn't a satellite. The moon isn't a globe. The moon isn't a circle. It's something else. We don't know what it is.
It's a reflection.
It's a reflection. Then he says about the ISS.
And you can see the ISS.
But he even brings that up.
You can't see the space station.
He said, well, you can't see the ISS because how would we see something that's the size of a car? Well, whoa. The ISS isn't the size of a car. I looked it up. It's 109 metres long, which is, let's say, 4 metres for a car. So that's 50 times the length.
Yeah.
And it's 73 metres wide. Let's say 2 metres for a car. That's 35 times the width. So it's significantly bigger than a car.
It's big enough for Chris Hadfield to play guitar in it.
Yeah.
And it has big, shiny, reflective solar panels on them that glint in the sunlight at night. Well, this is it because I've fucking seen it.
Who was it who was obsessed with lightning? It might have been Iru, and it might be coming up or it might have already gone. But I do not remember what Iru said and when. But they were obsessed with the electric universe theory and was showing lots and lots of lightning symbolism everywhere.
That was Iru.
Including... Chris Hadfield had painted a lightning stripe on his face.
Okay, and that was a lightning reference, not
David Bowie.
David Bowie reference.
Also, as proof of the whole lightning stuff being everywhere, was a picture of David Bowie with lightning on his face. Oh, coincidence?
Of course.
Yeah. Then we had a picture of someone from NASA, so a spokesperson from NASA saying, we don't have the technology to go at the moon now. The room erupts in laughter.
Yeah.
Dave goes, all right, we'll debunk this. You don't have the technology to go at the moon, right? Look at this. That's their guidance system. Do you know how much RAM that had? Do you know how much memory that had? Absolutely nothing. Look at the iPhone, millions of times more powerful than that. This calculator, more powerful. This Game Boy even. The Game Boy is the lowest memory that I've shown you on there. Yeah. That had way more tech on board than that guidance system needed. So how come we don't have the tech to go at the moon? Well, mate, we probably have the guidance system to go at the moon.
Yeah.
It's probably like the shuttle itself and some of the other stuff in there that like keeps people alive and things that helps them
from radiation and stuff.
It's not at all to do with the lack of funding or political will for us to go back into space again.
Exactly.
But then he tries to start
this is where it gets really interesting.
How to argue with globe people and how flat earthers can start to look stupid if they try to argue against it, and that's the wording he uses.
Don't say.
To argue against the globe model. He says they have a model, we don't. If we try to argue against their model, we look stupid. Mm-hmm. So he's making the argument that they shouldn't use the transparent moon argument.
Yeah. So the transparent moon argument is that when you see a crescent moon during the day, why is it blue behind it and not black? Because you should be seeing straight through it to space.
But that's because the blue's between
it's because
the moon and us.
It's because the moon's transparent, and that's why we see the sky behind the moon.
No, it's because the sky's between us and the moon.
Nope.
No, it is.
Nope, you're seeing straight through the moon.
They shouldn't use the images where they show clouds are going behind the sun and the moon. And he did very well. He dropped into Photoshop. Mm-hmm. He had an image of the moon with clouds in front of it and what looked like clouds moving behind it, and he inverted the image, and then he changed the levels and showed that actually you just couldn't see the clouds that were in front of it because they were too faint, and that when you changed the levels you could see them, and pointed out that you can't use that argument doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was good skepticism. So this, but more, Dave. This, but the diagram of Neil deGrasse Tyson's Aristophanes. This, but draw out some of the things that you're talking about, and you will see what's happening.
What was interesting, though, he concluded that with "let's not help these actors." But I thought it was really interesting that his entire tone changed. They'd been speaking really confidently the whole way through, and then suddenly got quite insecure about what he was saying. Part of that, Marsh pointed out, is because he knows the audience are going to jump on him. The audience, there's a lot of conflict within the flat Earth society, within the flat Earth community, and anybody who kind of disagrees with them, they start to jump on each other quite easily. But at the same time, I think he didn't have confidence in his rational thinking because he's not very well practiced at taking these arguments all the way through, but at least he was trying.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Although what I think for me, what came across from that the strongest is that when the audience are ridiculing Neil deGrasse Tyson, when you're ridiculing Neil deGrasse Tyson, when you're ridiculing NASA, the audience are so on board. They're lapping it up. They're egging you on. All of Martin's talk was that. Look at this, it's ridiculous. Look at that, it's ridiculous. This is a speaker. And I was like, yeah, it's a speaker. It's brilliant. The second you start picking up what they believe, and they've got to actually confront what they believe and not just have it reinforced, they got much, much more terse. They got much more shifted and comfortable in their seat. And you could sense that from Dave, that when he started saying, because I think when he first said, some of our arguments aren't very good, you felt the shift in the room, and you saw him react to the shift in the room. And I thought it was just so interesting to see the wind change and him suddenly be facing that 1,000 km/h wind that might have made him explode. I thought it was really fascinating.
And it's particularly interesting to contrast Dave with Martin, because Dave, as we'd said, was like a celebrity in the room. Everybody had been converted to... A lot of people have been converted to Flat Earth through his videos.
Dave's videos,
Martin similarly was walking around like a celebrity in the room, was getting on with everybody. They were possibly comparable in a lot of ways. And yet Martin's talk was by far the most enjoyed talk by the audience. And part of that will be because Dave was trying to question a little bit himself as well as the audience, but it just wasn't necessarily going down as well as Martin's "Am I right, guys?" talk.
And that Martin one, it really did... It struck me so much like the talks you've seen from atheists pointing out how stupid Christians are. And it's just like, oh, look at this stupid Christian, isn't he an idiot? Look at this stupid Christian, isn't he? It's like, that's it. That's what it felt like to me, and it's why I hated it, because I hate it when I have to sit through someone who's an atheist or a skeptic just having a talk about how stupid this person is. It's like, this is worthless and you are an arsehole. That's the only thing I thought from Martin's talk. At least I thought Dave changing it that way was interesting. Then what we need is more Iru. So we've got another 10 minutes of Iru, so that's 40 minutes well spent.
More than 10 minutes.
A lot of this was him showing a 3D model of the world under a dome to explain how the sun looks like it's moving in a circular pattern, which he said before it didn't, but now it does, so he's got a 3D model to explain that. And you can see that from inside the dome, you can see it from above the dome, you can see the inside view to the sides of the dome. So inside the dome, you see looking forward, you see the sun come up from above and sort of like dip down. From outside, you see the sun just like go straight past. Looking to the left of the dome, because he's talking about it being atmospheric lensing. Looking at the left, you see the sun go straight past, which happens when you see the sun sometimes. Sometimes on some days, the sun doesn't rise east and set to the west. It just comes in from high up in the east and goes all the way across to disappear high up in the west.
No, it doesn't do
that. Just happens there. He also showed...
Maybe like in Norway sometimes when it's like sunny for 6 months of the year.
He also showed a sunset, which he'd mocked up himself with a little paper sun, where he'd set the camera at table height to be the flat horizon, and then just slowly move the sun back to show how it looks like the sun's getting lower and lower and lower until it disappears. And he said, see, I don't see a problem with that. But what he didn't point out was that at the camera being at table height, you could see the thickness of the table and a little bit below it. Which means the camera's below table height. So if you are below the flat horizon, something getting further away from you will disappear behind the horizon because you're below the horizon, you've got something in the way. But if you're stood on the horizon or even 2 meters above the horizon, if he set the camera very slightly above the table, you'd be seeing it for a long, long fucking way, no matter how long his table was. So that was a very disingenuous point that he'd failed to spot. More videos of him just cutting people, saying things. Here's Michio Kaku. What did he say after you just heard that last line? You're not going to find out, because that last line was the only bit he wanted, and not the words that undermined it afterwards. He also said he knows some people think all astrophysicists believe in space, but I know some astrophysicists in Argentina who don't believe in space. Well, why are they astrophysics? Where are they getting the astro bit from that astrophysics? How is that even possible? The world is all formed through electricity. Rivers are formed through electricity. If you see the way a river has rolled downhill, it looks like it's electricity sort of sparking its way down.
Yeah.
So that just proves that rivers don't roll downhill. It's not water rolling downhill. It's just electricity making its way somewhere.
Path of least energy, the same as lightning does when it's going from the sky to the floor.
Cells are all formed. All the cells in the body, they're formed through electricity. There is no evolution in our history.
Evolution denial. Universal truth.
Universal.
Oh, let's just balls out go that one. Evolution denial.
To a point where,
why not?
Later in the next episode, we'll tell you about the debate that took place between physicists and flat earthers. But at one point in that debate, one of the physicists said, you can't be a denier, because once you're denying this, you sound just like people who are, denying evolution. Huge roar of laughter in the audience. Go like, oh, what, is he a monkey, man? Guy behind me said, oh, God, mate, you lost the crowd a bit there. But anyway, we won't talk about the debate. The next bit really disturbed me because it took Q&A from people. There were very few questions being taken from the audience. Question from someone in the audience, a child of 12 in the audience.
Wow.
And we saw him, he was clearly being egged on by his dad, and he was clearly reading from his phone. But he asked about the firmament and the edge of the dome and what happens when you get to the edge of the dome. And Iru said, well, if you watch the way rockets go up, they sort of start to slow down, and that's because at 100 kilometers, they sort of hit a thick, watery, it's like a thick gas or like a water, and anything that goes up there will get stuck in it, and that's why you can't go past it. It just gets up there and gets stuck, and the kids go like, oh, okay, right, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, Christ, they're teaching kids this stuff.
Yeah.
There was a baby there.
There were quite a few
was that baby
children there,
vaccinated? I don't think for a fucking second that kid was vaccinated.
Sure.
This is why you can play the, oh, is this hilarious? Is this ridiculous? I think the world's flat. It's like, yes, but they also think some other stuff that is horrible. So the last bit I'll tell you about before we kind of finish is during the break before the debate, which is a bit longer than it needed to be, I wanted to find out what had been happening to some of the speakers, because the speakers who spoke weren't the only ones scheduled to speak.
Okay.
And in fact, one of the people that I was particularly interested in going to see speak was someone I've had on Be Reasonable.
Yes.
A guy called Mark Sargent.
Yes.
Who did the...
I remember that one, yeah.
Some quite famous videos about how the world, the flat world actually works. And lots of people, even the speakers, said the reason they got into Flat Earth was through Mark Sargent's videos.
Sargent, yeah.
So I was really curious to know why he'd pulled out. And so I chatted to the organizer, who first of all was telling somebody else about the finances of the event.
Okay.
And also said, well, this event is sponsored by FECOR, FECOR, which is the group that we run, the group that I'm involved in, lots of speakers involved in. And the FE stands for Field Engineers, although we all know what FE really stands for. And we know, in point to the posters, we know that FE, we know what it stands for. It's kind of like a play on word. It's kind of like a thing, because what happens is, if a company sponsors this event and they say they're sponsoring, or they sponsor FECOR, which does all our kind of field engineering, does all our experiment work, if they sponsor that, then somebody else who works with them might see that they're sponsoring flat earthers and think, why are you sponsoring flat earthers? So instead we say field engineering, and that company can then say, oh no, we're sponsoring field engineers. But we know and they know what FE stands for. And I thought, that's intellectually rigorous. That's a perfectly fine thing to do, especially with when it comes to taking people's money and things. But I asked about Mark Sargent, and what happened was he was recently interviewed by the BBC, by Good Morning Britain, by several places when there was this spate of coverage of Flat Earth.
Quite recently,
I was actually interviewed on the BBC following an interview with Mark Sargent.
Yes.
And a lot of people in the Flat Earth community felt some of the stuff that Mark was talking about, being under a dome, it being like a snow globe, it being like the Truman Show, that made Flat Earthers look stupid. So the organisers have been in touch with Mark about this and said, could you not talk about that kind of stuff, please?
Yeah.
And Mark flipped out and refused to attend and wrote to other Flat Earthers and said they wouldn't attend, and had a big public thing about that. And that's why Mark Sargent wasn't there. And it just shows, again, the failure to coalesce in this community, either because they're all such independent thinkers that they question everything, they are their own authority and they won't succumb to someone else's authority, or because they're fundamentally working from models that don't explain reality, and that's why they can all have these entirely different hypotheses that don't explain all the data, but allow them to feel superior and a part of the in-crowd. So that was our weekend at the Flat Earth Conference, part one. We'll come back.
Oh my God, it was so exhausting.
Oh God, it was exhausting. I mean, the first day
we
it was 20.
We left at 7:00 in the morning. We checked into our hotel over the dinner break, which we had to run to the hotel, check in, get something to eat, run back. Mm-hmm. The whole event on the Saturday finished at 11:30 at night.
Oh God heavens! And it was solid all the way through.
It was solid. Yeah. We'd only had that.
We got our money's worth. I'm going to say we got our money's worth. We got Patreon donors' money's worth because you guys paid for this. You guys paid for this, so you get this show and you get the next show as well about what that evening was like. Because we've missed Saturday evening.
Oh, Saturday evening was incredible.
Oh, it was box office. It was worth the admission alone. It was wonderful.
And Sunday we went straight through until 5:30 when they were just about to start a workshop, but they were starting a workshop on a gyroscope, and they'd shown us earlier in the event, which we will talk about next episode, that they fundamentally did not understand how gyroscopes work. And they were doing a workshop on gyroscopes. So we dashed off and drove many miles home, and I got home at 8:30. Did you drop me off? 9 o'clock?
I did. Yeah, so about 9 I got back. So it was a long old weekend. We got your money's worth. We're going to do another show on this next time, where we'll talk about the Saturday evening. We'll talk about the Sunday afternoon debate, which was brilliant, and we might then have a chance to have thought about our overall feelings of this, because it's been less than 24 hours since we were there. We're still incredibly exhausted, and there's a lot going on. But so tune in next time for our more summary thoughts and some further box office stuff from the Flat Earth Convention.
So QED tickets went on sale this week.
They did.
You can buy your QED ticket at qedcon.org. We've got the Skeptics Guide. They're going to be coming down. George Fravber's coming as well, and our MC is going to be Helen Arney. As I say, tickets are £113, £75 if you're a student or if you're under 18, and you can buy your ticket at qedcon.org, and they are available right now. We also can mention that QED this year, the creche is going to be free.
It is. That's a fantastic thing.
Thanks to an anonymous donor, someone who's, we know who the guy is, but he doesn't want to be named. So
it isn't George Soros, before anyone starts to say it.
So the creche at QED this year is going to be free. So if you want to make use of the creche, you need to register your own tickets first, and then get in touch with us to register your kids. You could do that by contacting creche at QEDcon.
There will be a natural... You can't send your kids without coming to the...
Can't send your kids without coming to QED yourself.
There will be a natural upper limit to the amount of people who can get into the amount of children who can get into the creche as well.
There will, for legal reasons as well as budgetary reasons. There's an upper limit to the number of children who
square
can go
mileage
into the creche,
per kid. I don't know if I'm not the one who handles the creche, so me not knowing this isn't a sign of the quality of the creche. This is someone else handles this QED. But I wonder whether the mileage, the square footage per child, differs according to age.
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll talk about that in the next QED board meeting.
I think it's a bell curve. So I reckon if you're a baby, you don't need very much space.
Yeah.
If you're about 4-year-old, you're going to run around loads of space. But if you're 12...
You just want to sit in the corner with your Game Boy anyway, don't
exactly.
you?
With your Game Boy, Mike. You want to sit in the corner with your Game Boy.
Game Boy.
Yeah. And it's good that we're trying to work this out and have this conversation now, and we're how many hours into this recording?
Well, I've got something else more exciting to announce, Alice.
Well we're at this QED. We can't do a live show with me on it.
That's what we're announcing. We're announcing not a live swag.
Not a live swag.
No live Skeptics.
You might do a live swag. You might just snub me.
Couldn't do a show without you, Alice. We could not do a show without you.
Wouldn't have the legitimacy, like people like the scientific legitimacy that I bring to the show.
Absolutely.
You can bring Laurie. He's been published in Nature.
But if you're in the wrong hemisphere to come to QED...
if you're in the winter hemisphere...
Yes.
So if you're in the summer hemisphere when the sun is in the winter hemisphere...
Is there some alternative plan, Alice?
I am going to be at the Australian Skeptics Convention in Sydney the same weekend as QED, and I'm genuinely gutted that it is the same weekend because I don't want to miss QED.
Genuinely
but
thrilled.
I'm super excited to be...
Because that's going to be brilliant. That's going to be absolutely brilliant.
It does look like a great lineup as well.
There's some great speakers on, some people who I would be really interested to meet. Sydney McElroy and Justin McElroy from Sawbones, who I've been telling you guys for ages to get for QED, are going to be there, so I'm super excited about that. So it'd be good.
And you can buy your ticket for the Australian Skeptics National Convention at convention.skeptics.com.au. The only other thing I think we've got to plug is Liverpool Skeptics in the Pub. We've got Robin Ince is tonight at the Casa on Hope Street. So Robin's going to be coming down to do his show, his like regular stand-up touring show that he's going to be doing for us this evening. But if you haven't registered for that, you probably can't come because we've got a full house, haven't we?
It's our normal thing of pay what you like.
Yeah.
But because we know it's going to be rammed, we put up a link on Eventbrite to say the tickets are free to get in, but we just want to know ahead of time who's coming so we can let in the people who've registered first. So there may be space, but we will admit everybody who turns up who is registered first before we can let everyone else in.
Yes.
So if you have registered, come along. If you haven't, you might be lucky, might be able to get in, but it might be tricky.
We've sold for free all of the tickets, but we know that not all of those ticket holders will turn up. So
it also means if you have registered, please be there on time because we will. If
lose your spot.
Yeah, if you're looking to be late, we will have to say at one point there is a cut-off point where we have to start letting other people in, and we'll publish that cut-off point on our Facebook and Twitter and things.
Aside from that, then, I think that is all we have time for.
I think so. We've got time next week for more of this.
All that remains then is for me to thank Marsh for going to the Flat Earth Convention.
Wait till you hear about the cosmic egg, Mike.
And thank you also to Alice.
Thank you.
We have been Skeptics with a K, and we will see you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Skeptics with a K is a production of the Merseyside Skeptics Society. For more information, visit our website www.merseysideskeptics.org.uk or email podcast@merseysideskeptics.org.uk.